call the meeting of the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Directors to order, and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Sarah, would you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Alegria?
Here.
Commissioner Montero?
Present.
Commissioner Romero?
Present.
Commissioner Stolberg?
Present.
Commissioner Tebow?
Present.
Commissioner York?
Here.
Chair Gleason?
Also here. Thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Okay, I just want to note thank you all for being here, and we will be stopping at 9 a.m. to start an executive session, so wherever we're at, we'll be pausing and then starting it back over again when we're done with our executive session. Public comment. Anybody here from the public that wants to make public comment? Anybody online that would like to make public comment from the public? Give you a second to get your hand raised. Unmute your mic. Okay, seeing none. Moving on to item 6, approval of the minutes. I'd entertain a motion regarding the minutes from the workshop on February 16th.
So moved. I second it.
Motion was made by Commissioner York and seconded by Vice Chair Alegria. Any discussion? Any changes that need to happen? For such a long meeting, that was great meeting minutes. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Entertain a motion regarding the, is it special? Was that? No, that's the regular board meeting, February 26th.
I move we accept the minutes for the regular board meeting of February 26th.
I'll second. Motion was made by Secretary Treasurer Montero and seconded by Commissioner Tebow. Any discussion? Any changes? Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Just have a question in terms of the layout of the finances.
We're not on that yet.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, next item. Lost my agenda. I need a paper agenda. Thank you. Reports from Chair and Commissioners. Commissioner Stolberg, thank you.
Nothing today. Thank you.
Commissioner Tebow. I have nothing. Commissioner Romero.
I have nothing to report, but I want to thank the board for all the work that has been done during my absence. I see it, and so.
Thank you. We've been very busy. We're glad to have you back.
I see that.
I'm glad you're well. Commissioner York.
It's a long meeting today. I'd like us to think at some time about instituting consent agenda, which I think can speed through some things.
Commissioner Alegria.
Oh, that was just to see. It just moved. Sorry.
Right, it's your turn for a
Oh,
commissioner
excuse
report.
me. I was hoping coffee was here. Okay. Nothing.
Commissioner Montero.
Okay, well, I have several things. Monday night at the Seaside City Council, there was a presentation by Sarah Lou Heath, who is the Executive Director of COLPAC. And she came to kind of inform the City Council what COLPAC is all about. And I learned more on behalf of SETD, I think, than maybe the city. She indicated that COLPAC runs NOWADA, which is the Northwest, it's the consortium of the buses, Clatsop County, Columbia County, Tillamook County, and
If you just say what NOWADA means.
NOWADA, Northwest.
No, the CO.
Oh, COLPAC, the Columbia and lower, and yeah, Columbia Pacific. I don't know what AC stands for on it. They are a, economic development agency. District. Are they a district? A special district? I didn't realize they were. Anyway, she indicated that Colpack runs NWADA, and we are part of NWADA. She indicated that they're going to be changing the website, and that was the first I heard of anything. And also indicated that they have money to build bus shelters. First thing I've heard of that. And she also told us that they run the transportation options programs. So I'm getting a copy of her slide pack and we'll share with everybody, but I would like to suggest that we invite a presentation from Colpack so we all know what Colpack is about, because obviously we're part of it. I would also like to get more information about what are they proposing to do with the website, because I think we should have some input. And I would like to understand better our relationship through NWADA regarding transportation options. So that's 1. 2, Monday I attended my regular one of my meetings for the CMH Patient Family Advisory Committee, which is called PFAC. And Chris Lehman, who's the CMH VP of Strategy, shared with us the rough draft of something called the Community Health Improvement Plan, which is being drafted by the Rural Health Coalition. The Rural Health Coalition is made up of CMH, Providence, the Health Department, and Yakima Farm Workers, also known as Coastal Family Health. And this is it's an attempt for all of those groups that provide health care in the county to really come together and work together for how are we going to improve the health in our county. So the CHIP, which is the Community Health Improvement Plan, there were surveys, there were focus groups, etc., that were done. This is now in a draft. The draft is going back to the board of the Rural Health Coalition, and will be disseminated. Transportation is part of the CHIP. So I asked about what is happening regarding transportation and SETD. Are you talking SETD? One of the things that Chris told me was that Jason does go to the Rural Health Coalition meetings, and he keeps them informed as to what's happening. And Chris seemed to know some stuff about our microtransit grant and how we used it, because Jason has reported to that. So I would like to also suggest that they're probably not ready just yet to go public because they're still drafting and finalizing the CHIP, but I'd like to have us invite Chris or maybe any other members of the Community Health Coalition, the Rural Health Coalition, to come here and give us a summary, really based on the transportation, so that we can get a better understanding. Do we need to think about this for our STIF dollars? What does SETD, how can we be involved to support the improvement of health initiatives through transportation? So, those are my 2 things.
And so it's invite the people from CHIP or from the Rural Health?
It's the Rural Health Coalition. CHIP is the plan. CHIP stands for Community Health Improvement Plan, and it is being put together by RHC, which is the Rural Health Coalition.
Okay.
Thank you. Sure.
That was a lot. It's good that we keep busy and we keep transportation on our radar between meetings. Not that we've had a long time between meetings this time. I know that we have been very busy. I am very grateful for the ability to delegate some of the committee work to the different members of the board. And as you see on the agenda now, we have committee reports, because you are not just the liaison and help out within those meetings, but you are the conduit back to the board as a whole as far as reporting what happened in those committees. So it's been a busy month since the last meeting, getting everything on board and organized and making sure that things are kicked off and started in the right direction. So I'm gonna wrap that up as my commissioner and my chair report at the moment, and we're going to continue to charge forward in our agenda and see how far we can get through the committee reports before 9 a.m., before our executive session will start. So Board Policy Committee, Commissioner Silver.
I just want to apologize. I have a medical device that alerts, critical alerts, and I can't silence it. So if
Are you
hear
okay?
beeps in the
Is it-
meeting, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, yeah, that's fine. And just making sure you're okay and you're not ignoring something that you need to. Okay, please take care of yourself.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Board Policy Committee. Our board liaison is Treasurer
Our chair.
Montero.
Our chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but our liaison to the board.
Oh,
Is-
got it, yes. So the Board Policy Committee has met several times, and minutes of our meetings will be sent to Sarah, so that Sarah does them, and they will be included in board packets from now on. We believe that the board needs to know what we're doing, and one of the best ways is to get the minutes of our meetings. We've been busy with, let me go down to the minutes that you do have there. I want to just reiterate on something. Board policy. If you look at item B, set mission, I just want to bring to your attention, we did some more wordsmithing at our last meeting. There has been a meeting since February 26th, but just so you know, we're adopting the mission to develop, review, evaluate, and recommend policies that promote consistent, transparent, and effective governance for the SETD board's actions and processes, supporting effective oversight as well as optimal district operations. So that's what we see as our mission, is to make sure the policies reflect what we're doing and make sure we keep our policies updated. There's a little bit of crafting that has been adopted since then, but that is an essence. We have been working on board policy 312, which deals with board committees, and we will have that to you for review and adoption at our next board meeting. We're also working on the legislative advocacy policy. At our last board meeting, the policy committee was instructed to work it and have it ready for this meeting. Given a whole bunch of other things, we have a draft, but we have not done the finalization, so it's not ready to come back to this committee, to the board just yet. And then the other thing that we have spent a lot of time on in the last week or so has to do with, nope, I'm getting my committees mixed up, so I'm not going there. All right, I think that's the report.
Okay. So then the Executive Director Evaluation Committee, Commissioner York.
And that's me. We met Monday for the first time, and we were blazing because we've got a timeline and a deadline, so we're working hard
I
already.
think Sarah has stuff to pass out to us.
Yes, should I pass this
Yes,
out?
that would be great, thank you. Sarah's passing out to you draft timeline that we developed at our meeting to prepare for the executive director's evaluation, annual evaluation. And so that draft timeline is there. I'm going to walk you through that. Also, a letter I have from HR Answers, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in just a second. We had 3 things basically to work on at our first meeting to talk about a timeline. When do we need to have the director's evaluation completed, and then sort of backing into what work we have to do to get there. So part of doing the timeline is developing a process. There is a little guidance from one of our policies, but it in some ways is not helpful, and I'm going to mention a little more about that. And staffing. So we're making 3 recommendations to the board. I'm going to tell you about that, then I'm going to walk through the rest of it, and then I'm going to look for someone to make a motion on those recommendations. So our request is before having Sarah, I think, continue to give us some clerical support, and we want expert assistance in developing this process and this first evaluation. Our recommendation is to use a consulting firm that was recommended by SDAO, and I've talked to them, and the letter you have, you're reading ahead instead of listening to me. I can see what you're all doing. Don't think that I haven't been in front of a classroom once or twice. So we would like to be able to use their services, and I'll tell you in a little more detail if you haven't already read the whole thing about that. We're going to ask you to consider some deviation from a couple of our policies. 312, which we just talked about in the policy committee, which says how we get staffing, and again, we think that we need staffing from a consultant as well. And also policy about the evaluation. I think that you were sent a couple days ago those documents, and one of the evaluation policies reads as if it is the evaluation committee's responsibility alone to do the evaluation rather than the participation at some point of the board, and we think that the whole board should be able to speak on that. So I'm not suggesting language for change of the policy, just that sense, and that policy is there for you to read should you choose to. And in thinking about the timeline, getting everything done in a couple of months, we were looking for some authorization for us to do some things without having to come back forward for a vote. One is, again, the consultant, which I'll talk a little bit more about. The other is to authorize us to develop the questionnaire with the consultant and approve the questionnaire before sending it out, rather than bringing the questionnaire itself back to the board. That would significantly alter our timeline to do that. And the timeline itself, you see, we're at March 26th, the board meeting. You're getting a report in the timeline. If you look at the bottom, the new contract must be signed by June 30th. So to get there are things we have to accomplish. We don't believe, from the policy and from things that we've talked about a little bit, that it's going to be our responsibility to deal directly with the contract, but the evaluation. So we're trying to think about how do we get to having that last step of having the contract done, having gone through all of the evaluation. And we expect to bring to the May 28th board meeting the evaluation discussion, summary or narrative, and that can be done in closed session and then go back to the open session to approve with any changes that we've made. So there's lots of work to be done in April, which is mostly about the questionnaire, distributing at the end of April. And we're looking at doing what's called a 360 evaluation, so that we're sending out the consultant will be sending out the questionnaires to all staff, to probably about 5 community partners, and the board. So that will all be compiled. The questions will be somewhat different, whether or not which group it's going out to. So that's basically the timeline. Moving quickly to the consultant, I spoke a couple of times with the consultant there at HR Answers. She was very helpful, and the letter summarizes our discussion about expected scope of work. She put that into her format, and I reviewed it, and it looked about like what we had talked about. It also, on the second page, gives an initial proposal. The committee hasn't gone over that yet, so we're not asking for this specifically yet. I'm going to ask for a not to exceed contract because we may want to adjust this, which could add additional cost. If it was as stated here, it would be about $3,290, but this is an expression of costs. If the actual bill will be based on the hours put in. So you see that if one of the steps took longer, that would be an additional cost. That's why we need not to exceed approval of more, so we have that wiggle room for reality. If there's anything else from the committee members, the questions before we move to recommendations?
Commissioner Alegria.
One, I didn't think board members had the authority to do a contract. 2, I don't understand why the Human Resources Director doesn't do this. And 3, we haven't budgeted for this. And 4, there's a possibility that the ballot measure for May pass, which means there'll be less money. So I'm concerned about spending this amount of money at this time.
So I could answer those, and there are 4 of them, and I didn't write them down. So
Okay,
so if I miss one, I'm not
Okay.
avoiding it. Please
That's
ask
okay.
again. This isn't a contract. We wanted advice, and I'll say that the committee authorized me to get information, and that's what this is. It's information. It's not a contract.
So we didn't pay anything for that?
Oh, we haven't paid anything.
So we don't
that
have
was
to pay for
my
information?
confirmation,
Okay,
my
okay.
consultation with her initially. No. And by the way, I think that we're also entitled to 4 hours of this free because of our membership with SBAO. So there's a little, that's a little more wiggle room into that proposed budget. The reasons that we are proposing using a consultant this time, I know, are several. First of all, HR work is really embedded in the law, and so it's important to make sure everything's right. This is the first evaluation for our executive director. I don't believe that he received a 6-month, which is also done sometimes. So we have some documents, things that say what his responsibilities are, but we don't have goals that he's done. There's a lot more that's done in the first one to establish it. It doesn't seem to me that we have good processes in place. We don't have a questionnaire in place, and that's very lengthy to develop. So he's new. Our HR director is new. It is challenging but possible. I've done it, to have an in-house employee HR professional assist with their supervisor's evaluation, but it's a little complicated. And given that they're both new, we're establishing new processes, and this is a pretty new board, that seemed that seemed reasonable. So that's our reason for wanting to do this. I can't speak specifically about how it relates to the budget, but those are the reasons we're requesting this.
But, yeah, so I don't disagree with the reasons, I just disagree with, one, the timing of $3,000 now and where we are financially, and it's a really tight framework if you want to do this for the evaluation of the executive director. You know, maybe you can wait and sort of not do it for another time, and just it has been in the past that we've asked the executive director to submit his or her goals for the year, and you could do that plus what he has accomplished, and maybe delay this a bit so you're not in such a tight framework, and do it well as opposed to getting it expedited quickly.
Can I respond to a couple of
Yes.
things?
We need to make sure that we're wrapping it
I
up.
forgot to mention that the executive director would also do a self-evaluation. That was in the piece an important piece that I missed. In my opinion, and I have been involved in evaluations of CEOs on several occasions, it will take us considerably less time to do it this way than it would otherwise, because of their experience in doing specifically CEO evaluations.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of valid points, fair further discussion when we pick this back up again. Commissioner Montero, do you have a quick comment, or do you want to wait till we're...
I can wait.
Okay.
I can wait.
All right. So it is 8:57. I am going to give us some time to move between meetings. So I am going to read the executive session script. The Board of Commissioners is now going to go into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parens 2, parens H, which allows the board to meet in executive session to consult with counsel concerning legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome everybody back into the room. At this time, I would like to ask the board, because we have not had this discussion, whether that with this board, and we have new staff. In the past, there are times that the executive assistant has remained in the room in order to take notes. The board can allow that or not allow that. What is the board's desire?
I thought that was, excuse me, is that, do you need a record of it?
We do need a record of it, but we have a way to do it without the
With the
executive.
recording, okay.
So we have a way to record.
Okay, correct.
Yes. And that's all we really need to do is
Right.
have the ability to record.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Commissioner York.
I think it's valuable to have her. I would say that should be the standard practice unless there's a particular reason not to, given the topic.
Okay. What is the board's, I would entertain a motion. Let's make it official.
I move that we request the executive assistant remain with us during this portion of the meeting.
I second that.
Motion was made by Commissioner York and seconded by Commissioner Romero. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Legre, I didn't hear you.
Oh, aye.
Thank you. Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Sarah, you can stay and everybody else will be excused. Not Siri, Sarah, stop it. We will recess this meeting and go into executive session at 9 a.m. It is 9:54. Call the meeting, the regular part of the meeting back to order. And we are in the committee reports and picking back up with the Executive Director Evaluation Committee discussion.
So I walked through the timeline and the consultant proposal. If there are any questions, any more questions, I can answer that. Otherwise, we can go to.
Do we know whether we have any of those free 4 hours remaining?
I do not know,
Okay.
because that depends on whether or not they've been used in another.
Yeah, because you told me once I think we had 8 hours.
Well, there's two different things.
Oh, okay.
There's SDAO and then HR answers on their own is
I
4
don't know.
hours.
Okay.
For $1,000. Commissioner Romero.
I just have a question in terms of, I see the value of having a third party evaluate our executive director.
I would see them as assisting.
What's that?
I would see them as assisting our work, not doing our evaluation.
Okay, assistant.
So, and I should have explained too, they will gather the data, they'll run it through a program. It may be that SurveyMonkey does the program itself that will consolidate or collate all that information. They'll do a narrative through that program and then they'll bring it to us. The committee's talked about a few different ways to do that. But at the least, I would go over with the consultant whether or not there was anything missed, anything I think we should add. Then that draft would be brought back to the board, and the board would go over it, be able to see the full data set and the narrative or the summary, and then we would say, you know what, I think we need to say more about this or less about this, and we need to add another goal. So it would be the board's evaluation that David would be receiving, not the consultant's evaluation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Legria.
I think, although I'm worried about money, that there has been issues, problems within the organization, and this way it will hopefully make people be more be more open to discuss it, because I don't know what the issues are, but it needs to be resolved somehow, and hopefully with a survey that actually shows what the issues are, you can work on them. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think the other question I think that we all need to answer and decide is a process question, and that is when we get to the end, if you will, we've got all the data, and there's the sit down with the executive director. I think we need to decide, is that sit down with the members of the evaluation committee? Is that sit down with the members of the executive committee? Is that sit down with all the members of the board? I know from my city council, I'm used to it being all the city councilors and the mayor sitting with the city manager. And that's the experience I have. I know that there's different ways that it can happen, but I think that's one guidance that definitely the evaluation committee needs.
And I would say, just stress again, that is the evaluation. So that is just the evaluation process. That is not any sort of negotiation for any sort of salary change or employment agreement changes.
Right.
This would be purely and simply just the evaluation, because they are two separate things.
Yes.
Just so we're absolutely clear on those parts of the process. I know that in the past, rolling back the clock quite a bit, it was the board appointed the chair and usually one other person from the board to quote unquote deliver the evaluation. But that is, the board's pleasure as to how they decide who is that party that is the delivery of the actual evaluation, once it's decided upon by the board.
And I think there's one other piece I forgot to mention earlier, is that the employee has the right to say whether or not it's delivered in open session or closed session. So, and that issue and the issue of exactly how it's delivered to the executive director, I think we can defer that decision a little bit. Let the committee meet a couple more times. Let us get comfortable with how the rest of it is happening. Then we can have a discussion with the board in another report exactly for those details that come at the end. It doesn't change the bulk of the work we're doing.
Yeah, so I would just ask you to reframe what it is that the committee is asking the board to decide upon today.
Okay, I'm going to do 3 little motions.
You have your motions prepared? Good.
Only sort of.
Okay, good.
So I move that the board approve a not to exceed amount of $6,000 for assistance. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying it can be modified. For assistance with the evaluation from HR Answers, a neutral consulting firm recommended by SDAO.
There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is made by Commissioner York and seconded by Commissioner Teeple. Discussion.
Where is the $3,000 coming from? I mean, what is it for?
Well, can you rephrase that question?
Okay, so the total, whatever page this is, it says $3,290. Where is the 3,000?
The extra 3,000, is that what you're talking
That's
about?
what I'm
The total
talking
of 6,000.
I understand that.
No,
part.
that's that's what you're asking, is where is that total coming from?
Well, I understand where 3,290
Right.
comes from. Where's the rest of it?
She doesn't mean what pocket is it coming out
Right.
of. She means
What do you do?
how do you get that many hours?
Okay.
So, that many hours.
So-
Commissioner York,
Again, that
you came up with a number.
I came up
Did
with
you-
a number. Amendments are appropriate. As I explained before, that is sort of a minimum of how much time is expected. And the committee has not gone over that yet to make sure that everything we need is in that and that we agree with the hours. I haven't had conversation with her about whether or not she's going to be participating in any of our meetings, how many would that be. So that's a floor. And because I don't want the process slowed down by having to come back and say, I think we're going to need another $500. I put out a high number. You could certainly amend it with a lower number, but I would recommend that you not put the number that is the minimum on her proposal.
Commissioner Romero, you had your thing.
Well, I was going to make a friendly amendment to say something to not exceed 6,000.
That's what
That's what she
the
has.
motion
Yeah,
was.
that's what it was. I might not have been speaking loudly, but that's what I intended.
Commissioner Montero?
Well, given that this proposal and these hours came from HR Answers based on the conversation they had with Penny and that Commissioner York, and I know she's very thorough, and they are estimating 14 hours. $6,000 is 25 hours, 25 and a half hours. I would like to offer an amendment. Hold on a minute. Let's clear that. Of $4,500.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay. Will your second accept it?
Okay, I'll second that.
So the motion has been amended to a not to exceed amount of $4,500 for the services of HR Answers. Any other questions, comments?
And can you read back now what that motion is, please?
Yes. So the motion was that the board approve a not to exceed amount $4,500 for assistance with the evaluation from HR Answers, a neutral consulting firm recommended by SDAO.
In that, do we need to say who we authorize? Yes. So I would add the amendment to authorize Commissioner York to be the contact person and the contract signer with HR Answers.
I would definitely
I'll
second that.
accept that as a friendly amendment, yep.
Okay. I think that gives, that's the whole waterfront now, right? Okay.
Did you get that, Sarah, that friendly amendment?
If I can clarify, so it's that the board authorized Commissioner York to be the contact person and contract signer with HR Answers?
Contact and contract
Yes,
signer.
you got it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? So I have a question for Executive Director Carr and Commissioner York. Did you have an area of the budget that you had
No,
identified that this money would be coming from?
no.
Executive Director Carr, do you have any budgetary concerns with this authorization?
Yes, we've spent $5,000 for the strategic plan that wasn't in the budget. We've had a lot of extra travel that wasn't in the budget. I think we can find the money. I just can't tell you where at this moment. Much of our problem is that we had STIF money, but it wasn't allocated in this year's budget, and it's in next year's budget, so that we're kind of in a really conundrum. But this is $4,500. Normally I'd say, yeah, we'll find it, but with rising prices of fuel, I mean, it's good, we'll find it, we will find it.
Why
We'll find
doesn't
money
this
somewhere.
come out of contingency?
If needed.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, you can.
So
Yes, you can.
We'll find it.
if we need to, if this causes us to need to do a supplementary budget, just everybody's aware that we, just because of rising costs, may be in that position anyway.
Yes,
So
yes.
just so we're all aware that we are asking for permission to spend money that we didn't specifically have allocated in our budget, that doesn't mean that we don't have the funds available, but that we may need to make some budgetary adjustments. Just so we all know that. Just want to make sure that we got that question on the table.
Okay.
All right, any further questions or discussions? All those in favor of the motion to authorize a not to exceed $4,500 contract with Commissioner York as the contact person for the agreement and signer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed, nay.
Commissioner Alegrio opposes. Chair Klezak votes aye. Thank you. You have all the votes recorded? Okay.
Next motion?
Yep.
Recommend, I move that the board provide some deviation from policy B312 and B7012-B704 about the evaluation process as discussed.
Can you read the
Okay.
policy numbers again?
And what is the?
B312, which is committees, and B7012-704 about the executive director. And there's little bits in all of those that I listed there, and I'm not specifying what's where.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So there isn't a
She's not done
second
yet.
yet.
She's not done yet.
Okay, where is the,
They were sent earlier.
So,
Do you have those printed out?
They're in the addendum, I can get them.
And I'm going to second that, so we can start talking about it.
Was that all that your motion was? Okay.
And
Motion was made by Commissioner York and seconded by Commissioner Montero to deviate from Board Policy 312 and B312 and B701 through 704,
and
As discussed.
as discussed
That's
previously.
part of my motion.
Yeah.
Right. And this became a discussion point in the evaluation committee because both Commissioner York and I sit on both the evaluation committee and the policy committee, and we realized that we've got policies that are in the midst of being changed, and in order to effectively do the work we need to do right now, we need to exempt ourselves from following those policies so we can do the work, and those policies are in the midst of change. So this gives us the ability to not follow policies that were written much prior to any of this coming about.
So where's the policy, I'm sorry, that you're changing?
No, we're not changing the policy, we're
We're not
changing
changing
our
it.
procedure. So the procedure
Oh,
that
the
is being
procedure.
outlined right now, that is, we are outlining in public meeting, being transparent about the process, the way the process would be, will be slightly different or different than what the policy says it should be at this time. Commissioner York.
And the specifics, I believe, are from the committee policy that we are varying the staffing to include a consultant. That's not how the policy is written. And the other is about the way the policy is written. It seems to say that the decision is all but done by the committee rather than coming back for a final decision by the board.
So you don't have a written,
Yes. She has written the process, but we have not changed the old policy yet because we can't work fast enough to do that. And basically, the change is to bring the ability to do the evaluation to everybody on the board as opposed to simply a subsection. So,
Commissioner York.
It's really easy for a board to just say, well, that part of the policy doesn't really work for us and sort of ignore it. So what we were trying to do is set a practice that sometimes you can move and get the policy through a normal process of change and approval. And in this case, rewriting those policies, one which is 95% ready to come to the board, would really mess up what we are required to do in our contract with David to complete the evaluation. So we are openly saying we want permission from the board to vary in these slight ways rather than just saying, oh, don't worry about that. So we're trying to be transparent and timely, both.
Commissioner Stolberg.
I just wanted to support that idea that we're trying to be as transparent and forthright as we can and letting everybody know that what we intend to do, because we are in the middle of these policy changes, which takes time. And we need to, because the policies that we have didn't fit with what we're currently doing, we need to change our process temporarily. And we want to, so the board needs to be aware of that, and we need to make the public aware of that this is what we intend to do, as opposed to just deciding to do it without explaining that ahead of time.
Without acknowledging that there are policies that would apply.
And that we are in the process of changing those things so that they fit better with what our organizational process is currently. And that just takes time to review those and have the meetings and get those all brought together.
Commissioner York.
And the board has the authority to interpret its own policies. So that, I've been in that situation before where things have gone to LUBA and gone to the state. And what they generally do is go back to the governing body and say, where did you say that you interpret it that way? And that's what we're doing.
So Commissioner Legria, I just want to make sure that you're clear, that it's clear what's going on and that you've gotten your questions answered.
I would have preferred that this were written and presented to the board and this sheet presented not at the board meeting but beforehand. And I understand, I think the content is fine, but that's my critique of it.
Any further discussion? Questions? Comments? There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner York.
I move that the board authorizes the committee to develop the questionnaire with the consultant and approve it before sending it out.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Commissioner York and seconded by Commissioner Teeple to allow the committee to develop the questionnaire in conjunction with the consultant and send it out.
And can I explain a little more about the motion? What this means is that, again, we don't have to wait for another board meeting for the board to authorize it. We're asking the board to give that decision-making opportunity, right, to the committee to say, yes, consultant, you can send it out.
Any questions? I have a couple questions. Just throwing it out there to open the conversation. Who decides who the questions go to? The survey. Yeah.
I would say that, well, the committee has already talked about the class of people, all staff, all board members, the executive director. We've had a conversation about the community group, because generally you do subordinates, peers, and who you report to. So what we talked about was a couple of people in the community, and that this would be some discussion with David to see who is appropriate that he works with in the community, and also at least a couple people who are also professional peers. For example, the executive director of the Tillamook Transit District, so that we're getting internal feedback from the board members and from the community. And that was what I discussed, and I specifically said about five to the consultant.
Follow-up question. How will the questions be delivered?
By SurveyMonkey.
I'm not sure it's exactly SurveyMonkey, but something like that.
But electronically.
Electronically.
So there won't be any opportunity for anybody that doesn't have an email or doesn't use email to participate.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Just
We know that
And
our
it's not necessarily doesn't have email, because they could get the link to the survey in a different manner. But
Okay.
the survey tool, this is the way that is going to be most facilitate best the analysis, the collation and analysis.
Not a criticism at all.
No,
Just want to
no.
make sure that we're considering that there may be people on that list that don't on a regular basis interact with an email. So just
My
throwing it out
assumption
there.
was that 5 community leaders others would have emails.
Just throwing it out there. Those are my questions. Commissioner Legre.
Well, I think the entire board should be able to comment on it. That's not what a committee does. The committee is supposed to report to the board, and then the board can say whether they agree or have any comments. And I would suggest that we do work sessions, that this doesn't happen, that we're presented this. I've talked about work sessions for so long, I feel like a broken record, but this should have been done as a work session, so we're all informed and can work out any issues. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I will just say that this was the work of the committee that was delegated to the committee, not the board's job to come up with these kinds of proposals in this process. And that we're not talking about the discussion of the evaluation itself. The development of the questions will be done. That's where we've set aside up to $4,500 for the professional to work together with the committee to make sure that they're not off the mark with some of their specific approaches and questions, to make sure that they hit our specific needs for the district, and that's what the committee is there for. The actual evaluation and the results will be done by the board. We will be going over that as the whole board, not as the committee.
And that's what we just voted on the previous motion, so the whole board can participate in the actual evaluation.
Does that make anything clearer or change anything for anybody? Okay.
What about work sessions, which is needed? I mean,
For this?
For anything now, but for this.
We're
I mean, we're given this
discussing,
at
we're
the last
discussing this
minute.
motion. We're discussing this motion. Okay.
It's not a way to conduct it.
So there's a motion on the floor, which now I can't remember what the motion specifically was. It was the questionnaire.
Authorize the committee to develop the questionnaire with the consultant and approve it before sending it out.
Okay. Motion has been made and
Second.
seconded. It was already seconded by Commissioner Kiefel, and we were discussing that. So any further discussion?
Yeah. Well,
Commissioner York.
Process can always be improved.
Mm-hmm.
And going through this, we're trying to go through this in a deliberative way where we're really looking at the process as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it will inform future processes and how we handle things.
And I will say that, we've had a lot going on our plate since everybody has taken their seats on this board. First of all, July started with an entirely different board makeup. We have a lot of new people. We had a strategic planning session that we were able to accomplish. And all of those things needed to happen before we could start down this road of the executive director evaluation. And so we are, as much as possible, trying to comply with our own policies, with the employment agreement that we have with our executive director, to make sure that we are keeping things on track as much as possible. Does that mean that we are condensing timelines to be able to accomplish that? In this case, yes. However, we're being as transparent as we can be with this process. We're asking for help where we need it to make sure that we can improve things going forward. And we're setting ourselves up for success for the future. That's my 2 cents on this. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Montero.
And I have one more motion to make. As we know, the evaluation is completely separate from contract renewal. And this is the way that it's all being put together, but the evaluation informs contract renewal. And if you look at section 2 of the contract, term and non-renewal, it says the initial term of this agreement shall begin on July 1st, 2025, expire on June 30th, 2026, unless the district or the executive terminates. The issues notice of non-renewal at least 90 days prior to the expiration date. If you don't issue a non-renewal at least 90 days prior, the agreement will automatically renew for an additional 1-year term. So at this point, if we are looking to change anything in this contract, and there have been some requests to change some things, if we're looking to change anything, there has to be a notice of non-renewal no later than April 1st, or else this contract in its state, in the way it's written, will automatically renew on July 1st. So my motion is that we issue a notice of non-renewal for the contract that we have right now.
What page is that?
It was sent, it's going to be page 4 of that packet that Sarah sent us that has the policies, etc. And it's,
EDEC.
Do you have that page numbers?
yeah, page 4, but it's not in here. She sent that to us separately. It's the employment agreement, page 4. Because if we don't issue a notice of non-renewal, then we can't change anything in this contract for the coming year, even if the executive director wants it changed.
So, was that a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion. Did somebody second it?
Second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Stolberg. Discussion. Commissioner York.
So I'm taking a little time because I had not read it that way before.
Okay.
Um,
That's why I hate automatic renewals.
So the annual review is supposed to be complete before April 30th.
Yeah, but it's not just based on the annual review. The contract has other things in it besides.
So I'm looking
Yeah.
at the requirements of that language.
Mhm.
So the annual review has to be completed by the 30th.
Right.
What page are you on?
5.
So, I'm sorry if I'm
No, you're fine.
rereading the same thing
You're
out loud,
fine.
but helps me think. Upon such annual performance review, which we have recognized by the timeline, we will
And
not.
even this contract is not correct because an annual performance evaluation cannot include compensation adjustments. And this contract says it does.
Okay, so Commissioner,
I'm sorry.
let Commissioner York finish her.
I kind of lost my place, I'm sorry. Well, I guess what I'm questioning, and I understand this is the first time we've gone through a detailed this contract, and so that's the time you look at it and say, wait a second. I guess what concerns me is what a notification means.
Where were you reading?
Unless either party notifies the other of the intention not to renew this agreement, my expectation is that we will renew an amended agreement. Not that, certainly not my intention to support not renewing an agreement.
And that's not the intent at all, but you can't amend it in evaluation. You can't amend a contract in an evaluation. And the only way this allows us to amend the contract, to make any changes to the contract, is to notify of an intention not to renew the agreement as outlined in section 2.
So what I would like to do, and again, I did not pick that up in my readings, and yes, we've got to find a way through it, but I am publicly saying that is not my intent. So what I would propose, talking and thinking at the same time, not always a good idea, but that we notify our intent not to renew but to amend.
And I was thinking of a little bit different wording. Notice not to renew the contract in this format or in this form. It's not the contract, it's not the employment that we don't want to renew. It's the contract terms. Because we've already been asked to change the contract terms.
So we need to be able to say that in the motion, and that's the notice we're giving David, is saying that we are, I mean, it's awkward.
I think we're all thinking.
It isn't set up for us to do it that way.
Yeah.
But
So
I think we need to be open and transparent about what we are notifying.
Yes. Commissioner Teagle.
I would agree with that. I would like to say that we intend to renew an amended contract. And I don't know how we can move to not renew the current contract, but to renew an amended contract. Not renew the current contract, but to renew an amended contract.
Commissioner Stolberg.
I believe it's a distinction without a difference. The requirement according to this agreement is that we notify that we're not going to renew the contract for whatever reason. It's not a termination of employment. It's just a notice that we're not going to continue the contract as written, and that's all it needs to say. I don't believe we need to explain our intent in that, because it's a yes or a no. It's a binary situation. So I think that we just need to move forward with giving the notice in a timely manner, which is next week.
Commissioner Alegria.
I see it as two separate issues, and this may not be correct. And can you have two separate motions? That to amend the contract, it was one motion, and then the other motion would be, I'm not too sure how to say this, I mean, it gives uncertainty by saying you're not renewing the contract. I mean, as you have to consider it from the employee's point of view, that what does that mean? Do I have a job? I just did this and that financial stuff, and for what? Okay, so we owe this. I mean, we're the ones that are responsible for getting this off on time, but we're also responsible and not having someone hanging a noose. Well, that's a little too much here. Okay, that the uncertainty of whether the director should be employed or not. So there's two issues. And
Okay, so
I don't want
just want to
those.
remind, the motion on the floor is to give notice not to renew the contract,
Okay, so we should be voting
which
on
is an
that.
employment agreement, not a contract.
Okay.
Okay, so that's
Thank
the
you.
discussion.
Thank you.
That's the discussion.
Okay.
Commissioner York.
So I think you're absolutely right. There are two different issues, and a piece of that, particularly in what we're saying to David and to our staff as well. The problem is, and this is where I think there is a difference, is that its common meaning of intention not to renew is that it's ceasing employment. So I worked in education for 1 million years. Everybody worried because there was a deadline where you had to get notice to people, intention not to renew, by the middle of March. If you were going to go through layoffs, that was it. So everybody was worried about that language. So this language can sound like, yeah, been nice knowing you. So I think that we need a motion that clarifies our intent, which is not to end employment, but to modify the agreement for next year. So my concern is that we have it in the motion or the motions, what our intent. We're not saying what will be in that new contract. That is to be determined by the two parties. But I want to give a correct message to our executive director and to our staff.
Commissioner Montero.
Okay, as the person who put forth that motion, I will withdraw the motion and replace it with a motion that a notification of our intent to renegotiate the employment agreement.
Does that satisfy the needs of what the current employment agreement is?
It does to me. I wonder how that sounds to others.
Can you read that again, please?
The motion is providing notice by April 1st to the executive director of our intent to renegotiate his employment agreement.
So that's a motion has been made.
Need a second.
I'm going to second it for discussion purposes.
Second was made by Commissioner York. So you withdrew the first motion.
I withdrew it.
Okay, good. Discussion.
I don't even know what to say anymore, but this is the 26th. So what does April 1st deadline mean?
We have to give him 90 days of our intent not to let this go to automatic renewal. If we do not give him notice of that intent, this employment agreement, as it stands, will automatically renew on July 1st. We have already had 2 requests by him to change something in the employment agreement. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we don't give a notice of intent to renegotiate.
Okay. What insurance, I mean, looking at it from the employee's point of view, what this motion means, does this mean that we can not renew it within the 90 days?
No. No. He's employed under this agreement till June 30th.
Okay.
Notice of intent to renegotiate gives him the opportunity to bring things to the table to negotiate with us, and gives us the opportunity to clean up some of what's in this contract. This agreement, I'm sorry. And also bring, so it gives both parties the ability to bring new things to the table.
Well, maybe I'm not. I thought that the future agreement was, we didn't need all this. That's what you were doing, is discussing what his, because you have to do it by June 30th, right? Discussing what will be in his contract. I thought
We
that-
can't discuss what's going to be in his contract if we don't give notice to renegotiate. Because if we don't do anything, this contract, as it stands, sits, and that's this agreement, sits just like this.
Automatic.
It's automatically
Yeah.
renews, and we can't do a thing about it.
So we're nullifying that automatic, giving us the opportunity to make adjustments accordingly that are consistent.
Okay, so in future, can this be rewritten?
This gives us the opportunity to rewrite it
Yeah.
Okay,
for the future.
okay.
Commissioner Stolberg.
The impetus here is that this is an element of the contract, that if we don't give notice that we want to look at the contract and possibly change it, then we lose the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
It's not about whether or not David still has a job or not.
No.
It's just about notifying that we want to discuss the contract
And that's good.
as written and possibly amended. That's simple.
Clear. And so as long as that's clear, then that's fine.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think that adding any language beyond that could imply intent to keep somebody in a contract, and we don't need to go there. We need to just keep it simple. This is just notice, plain and simple. We met this contract element by the deadline. That's all it is.
Okay,
Okay? It doesn't need to be more than that. We don't
Sounds
need
good.
to be, because Executive Director Carr is in this meeting, he understands that this isn't about him losing his job. This is about giving notice that we want to address the contract.
The agreement.
So one of the problems with this agreement that needs to be fixed in this renegotiation is exactly the problem we're encountering now.
Right.
Because employees do need more than a day's notice. It has to be signed by the June 30th. There is generally an intent, that's kind of confusing things, but intent when people are doing this same thing with their CEO, which is standard how everything is done, to give them some security, not the day before it has to be signed, but a couple months before it has to be signed. And so that's what I would like to do with this motion, is to say, we intend to continue your employment. However, we also intend to renegotiate the details of the agreement within that time before we have to sign it. So both. We want to make some changes in the agreement. We also intend to retain you.
Commissioner Stolberg.
I think that on a legal basis in contract negotiations, to proffer the intent to keep the employee is a mistake. And I want to keep this simple and just give the notice. Let's not worry about anybody's feelings getting hurt. Let's just do the job we need to do, which is to meet this contract element by giving notice, plain and simple. Let's not add anything to that, because that could lead into something we don't want to venture into, especially not without the advice of an attorney.
Commissioner Montero.
And I'm going down that same path. It's an intent to renegotiate. It is not an intent to fire, terminate, or continue employment. The continued employment may be based in whatever's renegotiated. It could be that this gives the executive director some freedoms also. It's not just, because this contract has this agreement has tied us into an automatic renewal. And this is the only way we get out of automatic renewal, is intent to renegotiate.
Commissioner York?
Talking about the legal point of view, and I'm a lawyer, so don't anybody, this is my thinking, this is not my legal advice to somebody else. Were we in some disagreement at some time about continued employment, the minutes of this meeting, the transcript, the video, would all be taken into consideration. And so I'm saying that it is my intent to continue David's employment for another year under a new renegotiated agreement. So whatever the language of the motion is, which is challenging because we're kind of set up to make it challenging, not intentionally. So realize that part of the public record is the transcript for this meeting, not simply the motion.
Executive Director Carr.
Well, you all can interpret this any way you want to. I mean, it's your discretion. But I don't know, the way I read this was, and the way it reads to me is this agreement will automatically renew for an additional one-year term, subject to any salary, goals, or other adjustments as their parties may agree in writing. The parties shall negotiate in good faith regarding any adjustments.
Where are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Section 2, page 4. So it is clear to me that this intent of this agreement was for us to be able to, this is called term non-renewal. So if you're going to not renew this, then you would not renew it. But if we were going to renew it, this clause here says subject to any salary, goals, or other adjustments. You have a clause in here that allows you to agree to continue to negotiate in good faith. So if you wish to interpret it that way, that's how I originally interpreted it, then I would propose that we not non-renewing, because it says here in the event of non-renewal, the executive director shall continue performing their duties and blah, 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 until the expiration date.
Okay.
So I look at this from the employee standpoint, that if this is a non-renewal, then I will submit my resignation and I will thank you all for the opportunity to work here. If you want to renew me and continue in good faith negotiations, then we should do that. That's how I interpret the contract. It's your interpretation. It's up to you to interpret it. So I'm leaving it to you guys.
Commissioner York.
Always an advantage to read the whole document. Yes. Things can appear all over the place, and I read every word in it. But I agree, and I'll be on the record now that this is what Section 2 term/non-renewal means. You don't renew him. He continues to perform his duties through the end of the term, and then we all say, thanks a lot. So I don't now see a reason for action.
Still a motion on the floor, so any continued discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Could you repeat it just one more time, please?
The motion on the floor is, Sarah, it's to...
Yes. To provide notice by April 1st to the executive director of the board's intent to renegotiate his employment agreement.
Okay, I put the motion out. I will withdraw that motion. And because we have 90 days because we have a renewal period coming up, then the salary goals, other adjustments need to be addressed, and this body then needs to appoint some people to enter into those discussions with the executive director.
Commissioner York.
And the way we had laid it out in the timeline was not who. We didn't address that, but that we were working on having the evaluation complete by the end of May so that revisions, negotiation, that could happen between the executive director and a representative. And then it comes to the board at that final board meeting of the year. So that June was allocated for those contract negotiations, but based on the rewriting, not the consideration of whether or not there would be another year. That last
Yeah,
piece.
we never
We
had a
didn't discuss that last
consideration
piece.
of whether or not there would be another year.
Right, we
It
didn't
was
discuss that
what is in the
in the
contract.
committee.
Yeah, so.
But we discussed June being the time for contract negotiations so that it would be informed by the evaluation.
So is there an action here that the board is asking to be taken at this time? Seeing none?
I think we need to acknowledge that we do have a contract, an employment agreement discussion and regarding adjustments that needs to be made. And somebody needs to be heading that up and moving into it so we don't see it for the first time a week before. You know, I'm taking a page out of your book, so we need to know that somebody is working on this and we don't forget it.
So, if I may, because of the previous request by the executive director for changes to the agreement, this agreement has been sent to our attorney and they saw it for the first time when I sent it to them. And so they are looking at it from the perspective of how can the board, what are the board's options, the best options within this current agreement to accomplish what the agreement is within what our capabilities are as a board. Because this agreement right now, as we have noted, has terms in it that we as a district can't comply with because that's not something that we provide. And so though that's the perspective that our attorney is looking at it from, they can also look at it from, evaluating the agreement as a whole and bring recommendations to us as far as that's concerned. So that's the board, if the board wants that, then I think that is a good direction forward. And then we will be moving on to the next thing. We have, I think that this direction of not giving notice of non-renewal very much takes into account the human factor of what that non-renewal does to somebody, and takes into account the board's intent not to terminate employment but to continue, and acknowledges that there are some things in this agreement that need to be corrected, need to be fixed. So, Commissioner Stolberg.
I have a motion. I move that we direct the board chair, Clatsop, to contact the attorney with the intent to get an answer within 72 hours as to whether or not, according to Section 2 of the employment agreement, we must give notice by April 1st in order to accomplish contract negotiations when the contract is due for renewal. And that result of that conversation be communicated to us through email before April 1st, before our deadline. Just to clarify the question, that's what I'm after.
Okay. Motion on the floor to authorize the chair to contact the attorney regarding asking whether the board must give notice in order to renegotiate the contract by April 1st.
And the date is actually April 2nd.
Okay.
That's your 90
So-
days.
That's the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded by Commissioner Romero. Sorry. Any further discussion? Commissioner York.
I'm not going to be supporting the motion. When you ask your attorney for advice about something, you need to be prepared to take some action should you, depending on the advice you receive. And I think that extends a problem that we're having right now. So I will not support it.
Commissioner Legrand.
Neither will I, because the reason stated, I think we've become off track a little, and it's brought up issues that that should have been brought up when the executive director was hired.
I will just note that none of the there's only 2 people in the room that were here when the executive director was hired that could have taken any of those motions.
I didn't know it was a problem.
So there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Any further discussion?
I think that the process that you've already described about your interactions with the attorney probably fulfill the inquiry as to what does this section of the contract mean. Possibly.
I've never asked that specific question.
Okay.
So, no.
What I'm getting the sense is just the attorney interpreting this section of the contract. What does it mean for what action we're supposed to be taking?
So, and if I may, because we are still at item 5,
I know.
it is almost 11 o'clock. We are way behind schedule, so just to kind of push this forward a little bit, Commissioner York, what you're saying is that the motion is lacking the actionable element to it, that there would be anything other than an answer to a question, and we still wouldn't be able to take any sort of action at that point because we would have to come together again as a board to then take further action.
That's an incorrect.
Okay.
My statement was that I am not supporting this motion.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Just
Commissioner Stolberg.
to be absolutely clear, the motion I put forward was to answer a question as to whether or not we can be compliant and timely. Beyond that, the next step is, I don't know what the next step would be.
Okay. Okay.
To be as clear as possible what our responsibility as a board is,
Based on
as
the
far as
agreement.
legal issues that we are not really experts on.
Based on the current agreement that we are
Right.
under. Okay. So, the piece that I would add is that if this motion were to pass, I would ask the attorney this question. This is my interpretation of what my direction would be. I would ask the attorney to interpret this section of the agreement. The attorney would respond to me, and I would send that information out to the board. At that point, that is information being provided to the board. There's no discussion that can happen. There's no action that can happen from that, and there's nothing further that can be done other than the knowledge that I would be providing to the board from the attorney. That is how I am interpreting what would happen following if this motion were to pass. So, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
Nay. Chair votes no. Motion fails.
Can we do a roll call? I'm not
Sure,
sure.
absolutely.
Commissioner Alegria?
No, nay.
Commissioner Montero?
No.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Stolberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Teagle?
No.
Commissioner York?
No.
Chair Klesik?
No. Thank you. Okay. Anything further on this committee report that we are still in? Okay. Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, Commissioner Romero. Have you? I
I want to
just,
excuse me.
okay, yeah, you can do that anytime. But Commissioner Romero. You are our liaison to the Northwest Act. Are you receiving their meeting notices?
No.
Okay. You should have been receiving them as of last month. I will check up on that. Transportation Advisory Committee liaison, Commissioner Alegria.
Oh, okay. So, it was, the executive director went over the STIF plan and proposed 10 projects. And I'll just give you the, not the content, but the topic: cyber security, transit plan, replacement buses, non-revenue vehicles, IT computers, passenger infrastructure, facilities, radio, mobility, microtransit. There is a situation, that's the right word. There are 9 members in the bylaws of TAC. There are only 5 members. I explained to them that in order to pass anything, that they have to all say yes. So they're going to talk, hopefully, decide you can have 7 members, but that may, so there can be 1 objection anyway. You don't always have to say yes. Of course, the other possibility would be to get more members to join. There is a contradiction in the bylaws that there are 7 members in the TAC. I mean, not the bylaw, excuse me, the policies, 7 members.
Yes.
And in the TAC bylaws, there are 9 members. So that has to be, I think I would put that in the tax vote. Why not?
So, if I may, statutorily, there's 5 required.
Right,
Previously, we had, in policy, it had said 7. There were 9 appointed because there were 9 that wanted to be part of it, and so they were, the committee had been extended, but that doesn't change the number that was required. And the TAC has the ability to say, we are going to comply with the statutory requirements and just have 5 members.
you mean 7 members?
5 members. Statutorily, there's 5 members required.
Oh, statutorily?
Yes.
Okay.
And if the board policy says 7, the committee itself cannot supersede board policy. So it can't say, no, we're going to be 9.
I don't know what happened, I'm just
Yeah.
telling you.
So
that
actually,
exists.
from a statutory perspective, you have a full board, a full TAC.
From what's required by Oregon law.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, oh, no, I've lost my train of thought here. Okay, so, the committee decided that they would approve all 10. The goal is that all these projects would be up for a grant, and that, so you don't have to come to the board every time you want a grant approved, and there are time constraints on that. And so they've appointed a chair, Jonathan, can't pronounce his last name.
Lieber.
Thank you. And I can't pronounce the vice chair. You know her.
Mitra Vizzi.
Oh, Mitra Vizine.
No.
No,
Z.
oh, Leah Griffin.
That's
Sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. This is why I memorize and spell well, because I can't pronounce things. And that's we tabled the bylaws because there was a large agenda, so we can do a better job in amending and reviewing the bylaws.
So, will we get,
Questions, Commissioner York?
Another time.
Okay.
And I'll send this stuff, I'll have Sarah, when the minutes are available, and then the list of the projects in their entirety.
So Commissioner Montero?
so do we have a formal recommendation from the TAC to the board? Because anything that goes forward has to come through a formal recommendation from the TAC to the board before we can consider it.
I'm not sure how that works. I mean, I know in the past, I mean, if it does work, that the board has to approve it. The intent is, at this point, is that all these 10 projects are being considered from ODOT. I can call Arla.
So the question, basically the procedural question is if these were projects that were presented to the TAC, including financial needs and what they would cost and where finances would come from, and the TAC approved them for recommendation to the board, that there was an official vote by the TAC to recommend these projects to the board.
Yes.
That happened during the meeting. Okay.
And there's an outline
Okay.
of the contents and the costs
Okay.
and the costs.
Okay.
So what I don't understand is the statement that by the TAC approving the projects, then that means that the board doesn't have to be consulted for grant applications. I don't understand that statement.
Oh, well, I've never understood.
So
This is what has been done in the past, whether it's legal or not, I don't know. Okay, I mean, ODOT. So when the board has been given TAC approved projects, the board cannot, if the board wants to disapprove a project, they have to write a letter to ODOT why the project has been disapproved. That's not Sunset's rules, that's ODOT.
So the TAC provides the recommendation to the board, and then the board approves those recommendations or not. If after the fact something needs to be changed, then there's an ODOT process that has to be followed to be able to change those projects, because they become part of a project list that is on the funding availability grant, tied to the grant, which is what we're caught in now, because our STIF monies can only go to certain things and we can't add in other projects because they weren't part of the list to start out with. So that, I mean, there's a little bit of crossing lines there, but yes, the process is the executive director goes to the TAC and presents the proposal. The TAC, agrees or adds things in, changes things, approves them however they are, and then that recommendation, whether the TAC recommends it or not, comes to the board for approval and then gets wrapped into these grant applications going forward.
A question I have is where, whatever, that the board approves grants. Where's their statute? Where's the bylaw?
Those are funding and commitment obligations that the board is responsible for.
And where is that written?
That is the board's primary job and part of our fiduciary responsibility.
So I thought, and I'm not being, so I thought the board was to oversee how money is spent.
Grants come with obligations, reporting obligations and matching
So all these years,
obligations.
nobody, including you, never said we have to approve grants.
That is absolutely not true. I
mean-
always say that we have to approve grant applications.
Because what is happening, and I'm stressing additional meetings, is that we can lose grants because of the tight time constraints. And so that the board is willing to meet, and you can do it by Zoom, just to approve a grant.
Okay. So
So there are a lot of things.
there's a lot of things, and that is all, that's a valid part of a discussion, and the grant application timelines is a valid concern. But that's not part of this discussion. So this is your TAC report. You're giving a TAC report. You're letting us know what the recommendation was from the TAC committee to the board regarding the proposal that was made to the TAC committee. Commissioner Stolberg, did you have a comment on that or question about that?
Just a quick friendly comment. I attended this meeting virtually just to see what the action of the TAC was. I was very impressed, and things went through, and they got a lot of business done in a rapid fashion. So.
And David has a comment? Okay.
The board comes first. I see it, and I will get to him. I was about to do that. Executive Director Carr.
Thank you. You're both right in some regards. What the TAC committee is originally intended for was for the STIF plan. And that's where we're talking about it has to be approved. The board has to approve it in TAC, or we have to go back and forth. And that's really correct. That's for that particular plan. What I addressed in this TAC committee was there was a desire for it to be more expansive. And I don't have a solution for that. What I did was I brought out a matrix showing here are all the grants that are becoming available. We have our state grant, we have 2 federal grants, we have 2 competitive grants, and we have to do this very quickly. And so what I was asking them to consider was if we were to apply for these projects, will you guys consider them? And there was a lot of discussion and a lot of back and forth, and they agreed that these projects were worthy. Now, because of our financial situation, these grants may or not be affordable. But if I have to wait until we know the exact calculation, for example, the state grant for support, STIF, for our federal grant that I'm applying for now, I won't know how much money we get until May or June. I won't know what my budget looks like in year 27 and 28 until 27 and 28. But I have to apply for the grant now. So I am applying for these grants, asking for funds, matching funds, and federal funds on the hope that we're going to get money in the future. It's the weirdest system I've ever been involved in my life, but that's the situation we have. So I'm putting in a grant for $1.6 million worth of buses. We don't have $1.6 million. The grant would be $320,000, and the federal government would give us $1.2 million. That would be a nice situation. It's not happening in 1 year, it's going to happen over 2. And really, it's going to probably happen over 4, because it's a four-year grant. So I asked the TAC, and we had a good conversation. I laid out all the projects that we could possibly apply for, and I just asked for permission if those were good. At this point, it's not a formal endorsement. I will bring each of these grants to this board, and you will look at them and say, yes, we can afford this. Oh, no, we can't afford this. Or yes, we can do this. No, we can't. But if I don't apply for the grant, we'll never get any money. If I do apply for the grant, then we have an opportunity to plan for this. So if let's say we get this grant, this competitive grant today for the $1.6 million, and they give us 2 buses. So that's $400,000. We would get those buses in 2027, and we would get the STIF match and the federal government money, and we could plan that. But I can't tell you how much federal money I'm going to have. I can't tell you how much state money I'm going to have because that money hasn't been out there yet. We haven't even applied for that money yet. So it's a really goofy system where I'm going to ask for money in advance of getting any money. But what it does is it buttresses our request. Because if I say I need buses and I need this money for buses, when the federal government's looking at my budget, they're going to say, well, you need money for that. The state's going to go, oh, you need money for that. And they'll either get it or I won't. But if I don't ask, we won't get it. So it's the cart before the horse. I don't make these rules, and they gave us, 30 days to apply for the grant. If we had 10 million in reserve, it'd be easy to do these. We would just do it and have local manage, but we don't. So we have to put it out there. And the worst case scenario is if we got awarded the grant and we don't have the money, we just turn it down. Now that would be a really terrible situation, but it happened. So it's really my asking for us to, this little one shot at this grant, I'm asking for $2.4 million. I'm going to ask the state for $464,000, and I'm leveraging $20,000 in local.
Isn't this an item later in our agenda?
No,
This is a
No, this is what we
grant.
discussed at the TAC. And later in the agenda is just the one project that
So-
we have to apply for now.
So I just am going to refocus this to the TAC, and I'm going to say that the reason that this comes before the TAC is because you've included STIF money funding as matches as part of those projects, which is why the TAC has to sign off on it, and they have to give their
That's what I
approval
was
to it.
doing.
So everything else, the further discussion beyond that is grant application discussion that the board addresses. But if it's not a project that the TAC approves as part of STIF funding, then it can't come to the board without their recommendation. That's it and just wrap up the TAC committee report, and we're moving on to the next thing.
I just want one thing, they didn't want to put it in priority, because they thought, just to make
Right.
that clear,
Okay.
they thought all of them were important.
Okay.
I'd like to make one
Yes.
one STIF comment. The application for the next STIF is November 2026. The application is due in January of 27. So I'm doing all this in advance of this. If I wait till that period of time, it's too late. I have to do this far ahead to plan it, budget it, not negotiate, but discuss this with ODOT, put in a federal grant. It's the weirdest system I've ever worked in, but this is how it works here in our neck of the woods.
And ODOT has just changed the timelines on all of that. So there are some things that are crisscrossed over right now, and they have just changed, and they definitely are receiving feedback on timelines and process and how it may or may not be working for other public agencies. So moving on. Item number 10, which was supposed to be starting at 10 a.m., just time check for everybody. Financial report.
I would state that our financial reports are based on a budget GL report that we were able to run. I would submit that when I could go through this whole thing, these numbers are our best guess at this point. Well, good news and bad news. Good news is we have someone we've offered a position to, and they start on Monday. The person has extensive grant and budget experience.
Can you tell us who it is?
Her name is Jennifer Stanklin. She's starting on Monday. She does have experience in, I believe, 2 different companies or departments. She applied for grants before. We checked the background check, and all of that is good. I also spoke to the references. They spoke highly about her, and that's where we are.
So she worked for 211. It's a not federal, it's a local phone line, and she did their grant funding. She also worked for what school was it in Seaside?
Cannon Beach.
Cannon Beach?
Yes.
Small private school in Cannon Beach. And all those references came back good.
How many applicants did we get, and how many did you interview?
We interviewed 2, and we got
11. But no even close experience to what we're looking for.
So she has government experience?
Yep.
So if you want me to go through this, I can. The thing that's missing is like the credit card reconciliation that will be available, that we expect to have next month's, including this month's, in the format that we're used to. And we would bring that to the board for 2 months.
Okay, then I'm going to propose that we accept this just as general information, but not as our financial report. Does anybody have any objections to that?
No.
Okay, moving on. Any questions about our current status of financials?
I will just add that you all got a packet because when I saw this, I thought, okay, we need to look at some other things in terms of just the money. So you got a packet that actually has has printouts from all of our bank accounts. So you can see exactly how much we had in each bank account as of February, the end of February. So there's a lot more information there than any of us probably need. I'll tell you that in looking at our accounts with MAPS and with LGIP, at this point, when our new finance officer meets with the MAPS, our MAPS banker, I would like to be with that person so that I can understand more about how our relationship with our bank is, how it works, and I can understand better the accounts that we have at the bank. Do I need to make a motion for that to be authorized?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to, what?
Nothing.
I'm going to make a motion to authorize me as the treasurer to work with the finance officer and the bank so I can have a sit down at the bank to understand our bank accounts.
I'll second that motion.
Motion on the floor to authorize Secretary Treasurer Montero to work with the future finance officer and meet with the bank officer in charge of our accounts for an orientation to our accounts. Motion made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Romero. Discussion. Commissioner Legria.
That would also include the executive director. I don't understand the hierarchy, maybe.
I don't think it excludes them.
Well, that wasn't mentioned.
Well, if it's a finance director, I'm not going to require that the executive director be in that meeting, but certainly if he, if he accompanies us, that's fine too. But, I mean, I can go alone, but I just think that it probably provides me better understanding if I go with our new finance officer, because they're going to have to go anyway.
Executive Director Carr.
I would submit that we allow the new finance officer to get on board and have an opportunity to understand a little more what am I thinking of, how it's framed. I mean, because she's going to come in on board and we can look at the accounts and she'll tell you what the accounts are. But she doesn't, at this point, she wouldn't have any experience with it. So I think it would take her, a few months to get on board and understand the relationship to the grants,
That's not the information I'm asking for. I'm asking for the bank's information. For the bank to explain the accounts and how the accounts work. I'm not asking for...
But they won't have an understanding. It's
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Well, it got seconded, isn't it?
Wasn't it second?
It was seconded by...
Seconded.
It was,
Yeah.
I forget things
That's
too,
all right,
people.
that's all
Motion on the floor, and it was made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Romero. And there was discussion. Thank you for reminding me. Any further discussion? Commissioner York.
If the treasurer wants to talk to the banks, I think she ought to be able to talk to the banks. If the executive director wants the finance manager to attend to, that's up to the executive director. If the executive director wants to attend to, that's also up to him. There are lots of different ways something like that can go. The urgency, I don't see urgency, but if there's interest, everybody gets to play their own part in their own decision making, and I don't see that it needs the approval of the board.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
I'll say aye as well.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner
If you don't
Alegria?
speak up, I have to do roll call, just so you know.
Pardon, Commissioner Alegria?
No.
Commissioner Montero?
Yes.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Stolberg?
Aye.
Yes. Commissioner Teeple?
Aye.
Commissioner York?
No.
Chair Klesik?
Aye. Commissioner Legger, did you vote?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm losing it. Commissioner York?
I just want to clarify my vote. I don't have any opposition whatsoever.
I got it.
It's a process issue for the board, and I don't want to encourage more and more and more.
Yep.
Everything has to go through the board.
I
That's where I am.
hear you loud and clear. Okay, so moving on to item number 11, continued business budget committee appointment. Do we have any other nominations for the budget committee? Commissioner Montero?
Oh, no. I don't.
Commissioner York?
No. And I think I contacted you. and let
Okay,
you know
but
that.
you have your thing up, which is why I was calling on you, because your name tag's up.
So we still have one opening?
So we continue to have one opening for our budget committee. Seeing no new nominations at today's meeting, this item will remain on our agenda until we can find another person or it's time to convene our budget committees.
Could you just send us a list?
It's on, it's in
Yeah,
here.
it's,
It is?
yeah, page 40. Okay. Item 11B, RVHT grant application update. Executive Director Carr.
It was requested a clarification on whether this would be discriminatory, and I checked with Arla, the emails attached. Since our service would be demand response and possible to share right with the general public as well, the only difference is the RVHT program will help defray the costs of those veterans riding free. The general public can ride as well. I do not see anything that would be considered discriminatory.
Commissioner Montero.
Okay, I did read all the emails here, and your email to Arla says, I wanted to confirm our conversation that transporting only veterans in this program would not discriminate. Her response to you said it will be possible to be, if it's possible, to be a shared ride with the general public. So you're telling her it's only for the veterans. She's saying it's okay if it's a shared ride. I don't know that this does not give me an answer. And I would much rather hear the answer from whoever is running this grant as opposed to Arla. Because what she is responding, her response does not match your description. Her response says, this service will be on your demand response, will also be possible to be a shared ride. Your description does not say it's a shared ride. Your description says it's transporting only veterans. So those two don't go hand, that's a mismatch. And I don't feel like this has answered the question.
Commissioner Stolberg.
My question is for Director Carr. Did you contact the Veteran Services Office in Clatsop County?
We reached to, who were the guys and the veterans that we reached out to?
Yeah, well, Carl Wiley, we reached out to him. He's very busy, and it's very hard, at least on my side of things, to get certain pieces of data back. But in regards to anything with David and Arla, I can't say. Yeah, he was reached out to regarding this.
Okay, because the question was, are we duplicating any services? My secondary question is, are you proposing with this grant to provide services to veterans only who are in wheelchairs or have mobility issues that can't load in the DAV van?
It was open to all veterans, and it's open to the public. That was the intent. So I misinterpreted the board's request. I understood it to say it was only veterans. So I asked if it was only veterans. Our plan is to open this up as a demand response, and I think we need to clarify that if we are awarded the grant and we are able to move forward with this program, we would make it available to the public. We would make it, but the difference would be if a veteran was going to Portland and our service cost $150, the grant would cover the $150. If someone from the public was doing it, it would cost, they'd have to pay the $150. The veteran would not have to pay. So the same thing locally. If it's a $20 shared ride, I mean, we haven't set up the parameters for the program yet. So this is contingent on us getting the grant and then us developing the program. So if the person's a veteran, that service is available to them for free. If the person's in the public, it'll be available at some cost. I think currently it's $8 for a dial ride. And then micro transit might be another option, but we don't have that developed yet.
Okay, my follow-up to that is because we already have established in the county services for veterans through 2 different programs funded by grants to provide those services, with the caveat that they can't provide services to people with wheelchairs or mobility devices. That's not available. But otherwise, giving rides to a veteran that could otherwise ride those other 2 vans would be a duplication of services. And I don't believe that that's the intent of the grant as I read the grant proposal. So my question is have you clarified at all whether or not that would be the case? And have you verified with the grant administrator that within the plan that you have worked on so far that we would be eligible for that going forward? Because the way that I understand it in my experience writing grants is that you need to have the details worked out before you get the money, not after you get the money.
So that's a valid point. I'm not aware of the other programs, so it was our intent to fill a gap in that. But if you're saying that there's enough resources available for all the veterans in the county the way it currently exists, then maybe our grant isn't in the right particular spot. And anecdotally, we heard a lot of discussions about veterans who need rides, and not all, and some of them are in wheelchairs, some of them need mobility devices, and a lot of them just need a trip to the grocery store, or they need it over here. So I'm not sure I am unaware of the veterans program, so that's a valid point. I think we would look into that more. But at this point, I was going on what we were hearing from the veterans at our most recent outing, and they were telling us that rides for them are in need, and they would like another method to do that.
Just one more follow-up. I'm disappointed that you say that you're not aware of the other programs because you were asked by the board to contact the Veteran Services Office to find out what the other programs were a month ago.
We reached out to them and they did not respond to us.
I got the data that I got online. It's available. Commissioner
Montero.
And our our request was to make sure this was not discriminatory. I don't remember that we were concerned about so much about being duplicative, but that it was not discriminatory. And what you've just described to me, that if someone's going to Portland, well, they're going to go to the VA hospital, most likely, if they're going for a medical appointment to Portland. And that is going to rule out the general public. They're not looking to go to the VA hospital. And if that ride is $150, that again rules out the general public. At this point, I still don't see the answer coming from the grant administrator and the authority at ODOT that they would not consider this being discriminatory. That we're not providing this, that we are using our equipment to provide services only to one segment, which is needed. It's needed. But we are required to provide our services without discrimination to all segments of the population. And I'm not seeing an answer.
Commissioner Teeple.
Maybe what I understood, that the services are available to the general public, but the payment for the services are provided by this grant. So the services are available. It's not discriminatory for the service. It's just the grant helps the veteran.
So from what my recollection of the grant application was, that the grant application would fund this micromobility service. It would be for the veterans. That's how the grant application was framed to the board, which is why the question was asked about the discrimination, because it was micromobility service funded by this grant for veterans. All good things, very good cause. We need to make sure that we aren't crossing wires and making sure that we are doing everything so that we don't get slapped with misuse of public funds later because we discriminated against the general public. So this is something that I think a first attempt at clarification was made, and a further attempt at clarification needs to be made. And we can have another answer at a future date. I know that there are other transit districts that run or that have more robust veteran services embedded in their transit districts, and perhaps reaching out to them to see how they structured their services would be a good way to also get answers. So this is not something that, any action was going to be taken on. The board just was looking for information, and I think the board is asking for more information. Does that?
Yeah, I'll make a presentation and address those issues. It's made really valid points. It was our intent to use this as an extension of our prior micro mobility project, and we would expand that to veterans, and it would allow us to expand it in other areas and more people. But the veterans portion of it would be funding the core of that service, and then opening it up to the public would allow us to I don't want to say experiment, but to trial this type of service. It's an extension of the micromobility pilot that we ran in Seaside, and using the veterans funding. And again, if there's duplication, we need to look at that closely. And then because it's open to the public, just like Seaside, we felt it would be the same parameters we were operating in before. I'll clarify those things. I'll try to lay it out in a little bit better fashion, and I'll have it for you next month.
And I'd like to get a response from the grant administrator.
I can get one. We haven't received a grant, so we don't have an administrator yet, but there'll be somebody
Well,
that's
there's somebody at
managing
ODOT who is in charge of these grants. And they, in my mind, would be the authority as to whether or not ODOT would consider it discriminatory if this is.
Just to make another point, in the grant application itself, it says if you're giving 4 people a ride and 3 of them are veterans, those 3 veteran rides are paid for, and the 4th ride, the public person would have to pay whatever that rate was. So that's how this program gets around discrimination, because we're going to open it to the public.
Okay,
But I can
so we
I'll
will
bring a
get
copy
some
of
more
that.
information at the next meeting, and we're moving on to item 11C, the strategic planning workshop summary report. Does the board have any questions about this report? Commissioner Montero.
It's a good report. It leaves us with still a lot to do. I think on page 53 are the next steps and recommendations. And I think we need to have some timelines with that, and this would be a good use of a workshop. Thank you.
So for clarification, because I don't remember exactly, this was our preliminary report from the SDAO from the workshop. We are still going to get an actual strategic plan from them, is that correct?
This is their draft plan. The next step for us is to take an implementation plan and develop that in the context of this plan. So this is an iterative process. This is the first step where we collected all the board level goals, objectives, mission, vision, values. The actual steps is left to us to do the implementation of these goals and these priorities and how we would do that. That is going to be a department level action, and then we also have to tie that into the budget. So as we're developing these budget plans, the federal, the state, and the STIF plans, those plans need to align with, as best we can, with the strategic goals established here.
So it's my recollection that we asked for this summary report at this time so that we would have it available to us, our budget committee, so that when we were establishing our budget, we would have the general knowledge of the summary, thereby giving the staff enough time to come up with a concrete strategic implementation plan, action plan going forward. So as not to tie them to the budget timeline to come up with the implementation plan, but for us during our budgeting process to have this information available. Is that what everybody else remembers as well?
I do too.
So are we okay with what this plan, this summary says? Are there any things that are glaring that need to be changed, that need to be brought up, that we want highlighted at this time? Okay, so then we're just accepting this as information, and it will be put to use during the budgeting process. The staff will move forward with the implementation action plan. That's what we all understand, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, head nods is fine, we don't need a motion.
No, I'm not looking at that. But have we got to define mission, vision, and values
Yes,
statements?
it's in here.
Okay,
Yep,
So we've accepted.
page 57.
We've accepted everything. Is this an approved board plan? It says draft on it. So what does that mean?
So, okay, this is a summary and the board is accepting it? Yes?
yes.
Okay, do we need a motion? Does anybody feel we need a motion? We can accept it by consensus? Okay. It's accepted by consensus.
If I may.
Yes.
I just want to say this is an iterative process, so at any time we want to come back and revisit this, it's going to be available to do that. This is generally a guideline, a guidebook, a roadmap. So if we change course, we want to add things to this, take things away from this, we have opportunities to do that. So as we make other presentations, bring things to you, if you say, well, we want to do this or that, because I think one of the things I wanted to point out was there were 2 goals that were added after the number 37 and 38 on page 72. So these were added to there. We did not include them in our conversation. We did not have a chance to vote on, but yet they're on here. So I'm not calling for any response today. I'm just pointing out that as we move forward, we can include these things and make adjustments as we go along.
Okay. Those are good ones.
All right. Item 11D, the SDAO agreement update. We have a executed agreement with SDAO.
I did not have time to get this into the packet, but I do have an executed agreement here in my hand.
Can we all get a copy?
So it's what you have in front of you, just signed, is that
It was
correct?
signed this morning.
Okay, so it's what you have in the packet,
Okay.
it just has signatures on it, so. Any questions, comments? Thank you for executing that agreement. When is it, have they started? No, you just signed it today. Never
I've
mind.
provided them with preliminary data, a copy of the forensic audit, a copy of RLS. We have discussed budgets. We are going to set, I was waiting to hear the wonderful news from Sam about our new hire, and I wanted to bring that person in right at the beginning of all this process. So as the new Jennifer 2, couldn't figure out what to call it yet. Jennifer 2 is brought on board, then she will be part of this process from the beginning and allow us to if you look at the phases here, each one of these is really going to be helpful for her to frame the work going forward. Because you have the budget confirmation and support, we have reconciliation, we have deliverable, all through here, the supplemental budget, and we'll have a budget. So she'll be able to be guided by SDAO throughout this process. So I think this is a wonderful timing. I think it's a wonderful agreement. I think that if it doesn't scare her, it will make her really, really
Stronger.
yes, very, very much so. Thank you for that.
So that's just information to the board. We have a statement of work signed and agreement with SDAO, and we're moving forward on that. So item 11E, the budget officer contract RFP update.
It's out on the street. I reached out to the list of governmental financial advisors that was provided to me by SDAO. I have heard back from a number of them. They are declining because of the in-person requirement. It's an 8-hour drive for the CPA each way, and there's like 3 or 4 meetings that I think we requested that they be able to attend, and they declined. 2 other declines, or 3 actually, were because of they're already busy and they already have a lot of work. So I've heard back from 1 other that's look at it, and there's a couple, 3 other ones that are still out there. So we expect this to be closed on 19th, no, not the 19th, so April 2nd. We had to push it out just a couple more days because of the a little delay on my part to get it out the door. But once I got it out the door, we were able to get this to those folks.
Commissioner York.
Having sat in, and thank you for letting me do that, on the interview process with the new Jennifer, the additional Jennifer. I was so impressed with her. Everyone else on the committee was so impressed with her, and I will volunteer that I was the one who said, given how good she is and how needy we are right now, could we please move as fast as possible, because I was afraid we might lose her. And everybody else, lots of head nods. It's my hope now that she will be able to fill the gap that we were intending to fill here, that maybe there isn't the same gap. And especially with the lucky timing of also having this contract with SDAO, that she'll be the one receiving the advice, which is great. So I'm hoping that having such an excellent candidate and new hire will help us through. We were trying to solve a problem that maybe, fingers crossed, doesn't really exist.
Any other statements, comments? Commissioner Montero?
This is a really good recommendation, I think, from Commissioner York. So I think that possibly we don't need to continue to proceed to look for the budget officer, but that we have a person we need. She's going to be guided by SDAO, and I think a strong team behind her in terms of the current Jennifer and other people who are probably starting work on looking at what they need for budgets in their departments already. So this may be, at this point now, a moot point.
Is that a motion?
I didn't make a motion.
Do you need a motion for that?
At this point, the RFP is out there. We are still looking for a budget officer and looking for proposals based on our RFP.
So,
So in my opinion, and this is, I'm not obviously intimately involved with it, if we already have it out there and you hear back from somebody, that gives you more options. If we were starting and saying, would you please develop an RFP in that, then I would say, yeah, maybe not worth your time, but it doesn't seem like extra time now, the fact that it's out there. So I'm not personally recommending any action. Interested to see what the executive director has to say about that.
Executive Director Carter.
I would think that we have the RFP, we'll get it back, we'll see. We'll see if we can afford it, because it may be very expensive. We'll see the qualifications of the person or persons applying for it, because it may be in our best interest to bring them on board. And then, Tiffany made a really great comment about how we've talked about how we're onboarding Jennifer too, and I gotta come up with a different name. But we're going to work with her as a team. The level of transparency we want internally, so the managers will work with her. We'll all be working with her and supporting her, Victoria, and we'll be supporting Victoria and her with training and a whole bunch of things that we're going to line up very quickly in very intensive training with AccuFund, working with the state. We're in the grant period. We're right in the midst of it. So all this stuff is going to be kind of, getting fed with the fire hose, and we're going to have to just move forward that. But I'm not going to put one person out there and say, you're going to do this. We're all going to do this. And so it's a little bit different, but I think by having Victoria, Jennifer, and then the rest of the team along, because it informs the rest of the team of how this works. It informs them how we do this process. So that, and as we move forward with it, our grants and our STIF funds and everything align with what we do, and it's a clear alignment. Just like the strategic plan informs that, these grants will inform that, and we'll do this collectively.
Seeing nobody else's comments, I want to throw something out there. Just something that I was thinking about, that I thought of since all of this news has come to us today. I want to have the board consider asking for this RFP to be withdrawn, for us to appoint a budget officer that is already in-house, with the knowledge that they would be working as a team and they would just basically be the collator of information that the board would be working with as a budget officer, and have us be able to move forward knowing who that person is, knowing that they have SDAO support, because with that statement of work that's there outlining a huge amount of the tasks that are in our RFP, there would be some duplication there if we were to bring somebody else on. And we now have a finance officer that is coming on board on Monday. So if we have a current in-house person that can collate and lead the budget message, put all the information together, lead us through the process, that has been here, that knows the district, that has had to go through this budget process multiple times, I think we are well positioned to not have to worry about spending this money, have somebody that can be that in-house person and move forward with the assistance and the knowledge of the new hires and expertise, SDAO's knowledge and what they are committed to doing for us, and we can focus on those things. And I would like to propose that that person be the budget officer for the district, be Jennifer Geisler. So.
You don't want me. You want
Jennifer Geisler.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought you misspoke.
No, I did not,
My
no.
apologies.
And the
My
reasons
apologies.
for that is your experience with the district. You don't have to be the financial person to be gathering the information that the district, that you're being guided to put together by SDAO with the cooperation of your entire team. So you are just, you're the lead that the board would be talking to. You would be presenting on what the budget message is, which you aren't coming up with by yourself. You have a team that you're coming up with it from. So, I mean, that would be, just throwing it out there. That's for the board to discuss. Just something for the board to consider. I'm going to go differently than I normally do, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to ask Executive Director Carter to weigh in on that first this time, because this is his employee that I put out there as a proposed budget officer.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. You know, there's a lot of things going on at the board level. There's a lot of activities going on throughout the enterprise. We're really hard pressed to keep up with operations on a regular basis, and with all the additional work and all the additional level of effort that we need to put out. It would be, you know, that's my chief operating officer, and that bandwidth, that would be, I think, more than would be prudent. I think I would like to see what kind of response we get from RFP, and then weigh out whether or not that would be appropriate. Because, I mean, if we could get some CPA level support to establish this foundational piece of what we're doing, that would be a tremendous value to the enterprise, to the district. So if we can do that, that would really put us on square footing. I think I agree with you in principle in having someone like Jennifer, because she is awesome, but she only has so much bandwidth, and we really need to focus on operations while the rest of us are trying to hold the finance. We really are circling the wagons on holding the finance position available, getting the grants done, getting the budget done, getting the strategic plan done, and it's a lot of effort. And there's other committees, other things you're doing, a lot of stuff that we need to support, and just realistically, I think that would be, my desire would be to try to see if we can look at the other options.
Commissioner Montero.
I think you make an interesting proposal, and I don't think anybody's surprised to hear me say again, you don't need a CPA to be a budget officer. It's not, you do not need that. And I look at the budget officers that I've dealt with in the budget, you know, I sit on 5 budget committees in this county. And the budget officer delivers the budget message based on, you know, this is what's been happening for the past year, this is what we're looking at in the future. Budget officer does not do anything by themselves, and they don't have to have the intimate knowledge of every dollar. Given that we've got SDAO coming in the door, and they have to get to know who we are. We've got a new finance director coming in the door who has to be brought up to speed and get to know who we are. And so I look at this proposal of the COO, who's got more experience than anybody at the senior management, from what my knowledge is, and knows how things are run, and you know, operations is the major part of the budgets. Who spend the money. It's something that I can see being a learning experience for the new financial officer, And I hesitate to, to throw in the mix with brand new somebody from SDAO, brand new somebody from our finance officer, and then we bring another person in who is going to be trotting the same ground basically, but they're brand new as well. So I find this as a true possibility. Commissioner York?
The board, I believe, appoints the budget officer. It would be really nice for the board to be able to know who the budget officer is, regardless of whether or not that person is the budget officer through the whole process. I would be more than reluctant to ignore the recommendation of the executive director on who has the capacity to be able to do this. But I wouldn't have a problem with appointing the executive director as the budget officer so that we know who the point person is on that and that he passes that on to whoever he thinks works with our approval at the next meeting. I really don't want a special meeting to come in here for this. But I think that that's a more workable solution. Or wait until we have a budget meeting.
You can't wait to have a budget meeting because your first budget meeting has, if you want to have any kind of a meeting, you have to have that budget message. We're required to have a budget message to even talk about the budget. So we can't wait that long.
I'm scrolling because I'm looking for the information on it's not in here. The budget meeting calendar. Our first meeting is April something.
16th.
Budget training, right? Which we don't have to have a budget officer appointed for, but the next meeting we would need a budget officer by, which is, thank you, on the same day as our next meeting.
That's right.
So,
but you can't.
That person wouldn't have, we won't be able to appoint somebody at that meeting to be our budget officer because then we won't have anything to consider at our budget meeting. So again, we find ourselves in a time quandary and in a situation where it's prudent to make a decision and to have something. I don't know. I don't have any further best advice. This is a group think. How are we going to get ourselves forward in this situation? Commissioner Stolberg, I see you and I will recognize you. Let me just finish this thought. I think that, a lot of our concerns as far as how we put a budget together, a budget being put together for us, and then in what a budget officer does is actually in what SDAO has agreed to do for us that we didn't know when we asked for the RFP to be put together. And so I think, to me, that is part of why I was suggesting somebody just off the cuff. I am open to other suggestions for sure. It was just, that was my first thought because based on experience and longevity, historical knowledge, I think Executive Director Carr makes very reasonable points, which is why I deferred to him to be the first comment. But I think that the board needs to take action. I mean, there needs to be a decision made of some variety. And if we don't make a decision now, we will need to have another meeting. Commissioner Stolberg.
I support the withdrawal of the RFP and the appointment of an in-house staff member to be the budget officer. I think it's a good idea that it be Jennifer Geisler, but as you said, to defer to Director Carr, he knows his staff. Can we ask that someone else be appointed And this is just a temporary position. This is just temporary right now to get us through to that point. We can change it later.
That's not really part of the process. So you appoint a budget officer who is our budget officer from the beginning to the end of the budget adoptions, period.
Okay.
If we change
For
that
the
person,
biennium.
that really means there's something wrong with it. Our budget process is off. I mean, that's the way that it's supposed to be.
Okay, so it's for the biennium. It's the
For this year,
No, it's
for
just
this
for
budget.
this year?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that, I understand.
Can you do
Commissioner York. Oh, Commissioner Allegri.
I'd just like to ask the executive director, what are his reservations of not becoming a budget officer? And what can we do to,
of him not being the budget officer?
because you said,
He's told us before that he didn't feel
Oh.
comfortable being the budget officer, so.
so that, I mean, you dealt with the money,
Well, I would be comfortable being budget officer.
I'm sorry?
I would be comfortable being the budget officer.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner York.
I move that the board appoint David Carr as our budget officer.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made by Commissioner York and seconded by Commissioner Allegria to appoint Executive Director Carr as our budget officer. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'd ask for a roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Allegria?
Aye.
Commissioner Montero?
Come to me at the end.
Okay. Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Stolberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Teeple?
Aye.
Commissioner York?
Yes.
Commissioner Montero?
Okay.
Chair Cleese?
Yes. I just want to make a statement that since the vote is over, this, considering Executive Director Carr as the budget officer was not my first go-to because he had previously said he wasn't comfortable doing that. So I think that if he has changed his opinion, that was a very appropriate question to ask, and I'm glad that we got through that. I'm glad we have a budget officer and we can move forward. Excellent. What is our next? So we still have an RFP out there that we need to deal with.
Do we need a motion to withdraw? I move that we withdraw the RFP.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner York?
We appointed a budget officer, and I don't have a problem with leaving that out there with the understanding that that person would be assisting the budget officer.
Commissioner Montero?
We haven't provided any authority. We haven't decided on pricing, no authority. I don't think we want to spin our wheels out there. I think we've made a decision and we need to go forward with it rather than, okay, somebody comes in the door, then we have to revisit this decision all over again. It's like changing horses in midstream, and I think we should just go with what we've decided.
Anyone else? Executive Director Carr?
We put out a procurement. I think we should honor that procurement, and we have a right to withdraw the procurement. I think if people respond, then we can tell them that we decided to go in a different direction. We can also do that based on price. But to withdraw it at this point puts a mixed message out to the public on how we're doing our procurements, and I would just like to see it through and make a decision based on that, because that would be my preference.
Commissioner Montero?
I think the message, I would hesitate to put the other message out there, and that is to people who take the time and energy to respond to the procurement, only then to be told, oh, we've decided to go in a different direction. and they realize they've wasted their time. I don't think I want anybody out there, going through this and just coming up with, oh, well, that was a waste of my time. I'm not going to ever answer theirs again, because they don't tell us they withdraw it when they have decided to go a different direction. So I would prefer that, again, it's a bit of transparency for me. We've made this decision. Why proceed to solicit?
Any other comments? Commissioner York?
I am persuaded.
I will then just also say that, from my opinion, it is the agency, the organization's prerogative to pull an RFP or a procurement request at any point in time if the situation changes. I will also say, speaking to Commissioner York's concern about support for the executive director, I think we have that in the SDAO CPA, who will be assisting us, that will be helping put together a budget in accordance with Oregon laws. So, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I think that there was a motion.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a motion? Thank you.
I make the
Golly.
motion, and who seconded it?
I second.
Yes, okay. Losing track. Forensic audit and RLS report.
I would say that we have not had time to go through this with any degree of, we just have not had time. It's been quite a bit of time just keeping the doors open and paying bills. So I would ask that we make a report. This would be a good exercise for our new officer. And so having that opportunity, and we could present at the next board meeting.
And maybe not even the next board meeting, but, I think
At some board meeting, yes.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable
in the near future.
explanation.
Yes, I agree.
To not having that report in our packet. Item 12A, Sarah, ticket bank.
Yes.
Sorry.
I was just asked to provide information about.
I asked her to put it on.
Mhm.
Yes. I'm sorry. I believe in the packet you should have what our current application looks like, the current policy that we have operated under. And then since I started on January 5th, we have received 2 requests from community agencies. Helping Hands and, 1 request from Helping Hands, and then 1 inquiry from Goodwill, asking about, they have used this in the past, and the request from Helping Hands came before I knew that the board would be talking about the program, so I have a completed application from them that's in your packet. The inquiry from Goodwill came after I knew this was on the agenda or it would be talked about. So in both cases, I communicated to them this is on hold right now while the board will be discussing the future of this.
So, the ticket bank is something that is a long-standing thing. It has been handled in very different ways over the years. In the most recent years, it's been handled internally, and the tracking has been internal, just as far as in as much as how many tickets were dispersed. And so I thought that this was a good question to ask, and a good question for the board to consider as to how this impacts our budget, how this could impact our budget, how this could impact grant applications, and how it's tracked. This is not necessarily something that the board would be approving each time it comes in or not. However, it is something that the board should be aware of that exists, and it's been on hold. So that's my intro on top of what Sarah said. So I know this was prompted by an inquiry, secondhand inquiry through Commissioner Montero, and then also brought to light by the fact that there's been more requests. I don't know if there is internal recommendations of how this could potentially be handled going forward, if this process is working, what gaps there might be, what kind of information the board might like to know about ticket banks and what that actually means. Commissioner Montero.
I have previous experience with trying to get tickets. I had never heard of Ticket Bank until recently, but some years ago I was asked by the county health department for some help in getting free bus tickets, and started learning about the giveaway of bus tickets. But what I also learned was that it was a process that seemed to be centered at one desk in the organization, and that while there may be tracking of how many tickets are given away, there is no tracking of how are those used, or how does that affect our ridership, etc. I believe that this is a really good program to be able to use in grant application support, because it shows community involvement, and it's also a way that we, SETD, actually makes grants into the community. And so it should be part of our budgeting process. And I think that we need to revamp this program and bring it out more in a stronger fashion, and in a better record-keeping fashion, so that we can use the data for our interest as we go forward. So I would recommend that we suspend this in order to suspend whatever we're doing now, put this into the the next budget, flesh out the program for readoption as a stronger new program effective July 1st.
Commissioner Revere.
I'm not sure about the last statement, but I agree with, the outreach to the community. The grants are dependent upon the number of passengers, but I'd like to see some oversight that this is being used wisely, and maybe we have to establish a limit. You don't want to find out you're giving away 1,000 tickets and then there's no bus system anymore, so that you can sustain. I'm not sure about the last part, but that's all I can say that I agree with.
Yeah, and actually, some of the things you're saying are what need to be done in order to revamp the program.
Yeah, I think.
And we're not going to be able to revamp it here or overnight,
right.
But as part of our budget process, and if we can kick it off in the new budget year with the revamp program.
So perhaps what the board is requesting is the staff to put together a proposal of how we can improve this program and track amount given, amount used, and what sort of impact that has both on ridership and on our budget finances.
But that would be
the money equivalent to what are we giving out, and maybe a new process for how this can be done more transparently, how applications are received and how they're processed. How's that for a summary?
And that's not, that would be not for this budget cycle, but we'll do it after June 30th. Because
well, it's not in the current budget year, but we're planning so that in the next budget year.
Right, so you do it after June 30th of this year.
Yeah.
So it would be so we would activate the program, the revamped program, after this end of this fiscal
We
year.
would do the new program, devise the new program after June 30th, and then it'll be activated. I mean, there's just a certain point where collision course is coming here with what you want to accomplish.
So I will say that one of the ways that this used to be handled was that there was a time during the year where people would submit their preliminary applications for the year, that this is what we would like to ask for in passes for our program for this year. And the board would review those applications, you know, knowing how many they had as a goal to give out for the year and how many applications we received from community organizations, and then the board would approve those, knowing, using a basis of a day pass ticket of what its value is to, you know what it is that they're giving out. This is something that doesn't have to be a once a year thing, and once you submit your first application, maybe that is an entryway into reapplying because you have more need further, 6 months down the road. But there was a process that wasn't just like submit your request every 3 months for 300 tickets and it's an automatic goes through and the board doesn't know anything about it. So I think that there's some valuable pieces here for the board to know about and for the public to know about, as far as it being a more available program that people know about. Executive Director Carr.
Thank you. It's all good points. We my first week here, I think, Mary came to me and said, "Hey, we have this thing," and I said, "Well, okay, where's the bank?" The budget was never set up to reconcile this, and so the standing practice was we track it. The executive team votes on whether the applications are worthwhile. So we have a screening process. We have a tracking mechanism. We did not have a bank to charge these against. So I looked at the list of priorities for a strategic plan just now. So and then booked in that one when I first started saying, well, this isn't our top priority. We felt that we could manage with kind of the existing community need and what we've been doing over the last decade with Mary's program, and we would do that until such a time where we could put this together, have a budget, do these things. It just wasn't in the mix. I didn't want to stop it at the time, because that would have been, like you said, if we wait till the next budget, it might be a full year before we give anyone any passes, and I think there's a need in the community that we've been meeting for all this time, so we didn't want to wait. So I think this is a good time to bring it up. I would not lean into the suspend, because I think there's just a real need in this community. Those folks are getting these they need to get groceries. They need to go to the doctor. They need the things that we provide across. And we've been doing this for a long time, and I think there's an expectation in the community for us to continue to do that. We can moderate it. I mean, instead of giving them 100 or 200 passes, we could do 50 or some number to get us through until a period of time. It's not our top priority. We have many other priorities, and so we'd have to look at. I think the simplest thing to do would be put it in the budget, have a consideration for how much money we want to spend on this. I like the one time a year where we open it up and people apply for it, and we can make exceptions to that on an as-needed basis, or they can make an application at the beginning of the year and then, like you said, get them over the course of the year, not giving them 1,000 tickets or something. So I think there's a number of things we can do to enhance the program. I think it's identified as a gap, and we did that early on. And so whatever recommendation you have, I'm happy to do. I think that the only thing I would hesitate to do is suspend it. There's just too much need in our community. People really rely on us, and even a short period of time, 4 months or however many months it takes us to get to there, would be an impact on them. And I would just say, let's do this program, let's revamp this program in a timely manner, but let's continue with some sort of program in the meanwhile.
Commissioner Montero.
Okay, so I guess what I would be asking about is how, when I say suspend, what I'm saying is between now and July 1st, when we have a revamped program, we just don't do anything, because as far as I know, we haven't been doing anything. And So it's, at this point, it's like we don't have our house in order because we don't have it in our budget. We don't have a formalized grant program, etc. And so if we don't have a way to track what we're doing, we shouldn't be giving it away, because remember, this is also taxpayer. We're acting on behalf of the taxpayer, and we need to be doing it wisely. And part of the wisely is that we know what the effect is. We know how it's being used. And so I'm not saying suspend for a year. I'm saying, let's take the next couple of months to get it together, to put it in the budget for next year, so that as of July 1st, we're ready to kick something off in an organized, well-fashioned, and well-recorded way.
Commissioner Olivia.
I think I don't agree with suspending it. It's not as if they're going to be able to find another means of getting to where they're going, maybe to decrease some of the tickets number of tickets that have been used, but to suspend something and then to restart it in any situation is not good. But to tell people that have been relying on this for years and then go, that we have to revamp this program is not fair in my eyes.
So the question I have is, when was the last time that we got an application for this?
It was recent.
Just now.
I see that one, but before that?
We've been giving them out pretty consistently since I've been here. I can get the data for you.
That's interesting.
So I would like to make a proposal, again, stepping out of my realm of normal behavior and how I like to operate things, but really we are way behind. So I would like to make a proposal, and I would like to make a motion that the board, during the time that they're asking staff to revamp this and come forward with the proposal, grant the ticket bank application to Goodwill Industries of Columbia, Willamette Valley, Willamette, and Helping Hands for 100 tickets each to use during this time, because I believe that they wouldn't be asking for the tickets unless they were out at this time, or pretty close to being out. And so there is an immediate need that I think can be filled by 100 each. And so there's an equity thing going on, and there's also, buying us some time and staff some time to come forward with a renewed proposal that can either be wrapped into the budget or into the beginning of the next fiscal year. So I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
I do want to make a comment here, is that I have talked to several other organizations who have said that they've asked and been turned away.
And I appreciate that. We don't have them in front of us. We can't do anything about it at this time. Commissioner York.
I apologize, I have another meeting.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Item 12B, the 5339 grant application.
Is there a date that you can put about dates?
I gotta go.
Director Clark.
Okay.
Yes. The phase one, and this is really complicated, but I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can. This competitive grant period this competitive grant is due on April 3rd. It has two phases, one for vehicles and one for equipment and other things. We're submitting this for 8 buses and 2 non-revenue vehicles. This money would be spent in FY27 and FY28 if we were to receive the grant funding. What's different about it is that instead of putting it in and we're going for one specific grant, this is going to go into ODOT's new process, which is if we put it in phase 1 and we don't get it, it rolls into phase 2. We don't get it in phase 2, it rolls into subsequent grant applications. So we have to rush to put this one in, because if we don't get in here, we don't get in at all. So it's a process for us to get these in there and get a placeholder for these grants. In next year, we will apply for grants for other programs. The buses and the equipment are pretty easy to find, they're easy to quantify, and they're easy to spec out. The changes in service, changes in how we do operations and stuff is way more complicated, and without the benefit of a planner or any other data, it's impossible for me in a couple of week period of time, because this has only been open since mid-February, and having to have it here completed created a real burden on being able to put this together in a timely manner. So this is an ask for 8 buses, and for $1.6 million. The match would be out of STIF at $360,000, $340,000, no, $320,000. Geez, you can't do the math.
Was that approved by the TAC?
The TAC approved it, yes. They recommended it for approval. So this is a recommendation, this is asking for the recommendation to approve this grant application for $1.6 million for buses. So that would be $1,280,000 for federal Section 5339 funds, and then $320 in local STIF match. The caveat is we don't know how much STIF match we'll have until we get the numbers, and it will be actually the following year. So this is a 4-year grant, so we'll have an opportunity to carry money, STIF money forward. So if we don't have it now, we can carry that money over and accumulate it. Most likely, in the first phase 1, there's $3.5 million available in the pool for buses for the whole state. So that means we're probably not going to get lost. But the thing is, because being in phase 1, now you're eligible for phase 2. And there's like $35 million in that. And then in subsequent ones, there'll be other ones. And then we would apply next year. We didn't get this year. And we just kind of rinse, wash, and repeat, and we can still keep applying for these grants until we become successful. There's no other way to get money for buses in our current process unless you're spending local money. This leverages our local money where we aren't actually spending any local money on it. It's all federal and state. So we're going to get these vehicles if we are successful. And best case scenario, we get 4 vehicles 1 year, 4 vehicles the next. Worst case scenario, we get, well, not worst case scenario, we get nothing. But there could be like 2 vehicles each year for the next 4 years would be a really good outcome for us. So we filled out the application, all the information's in here. We also applied for 2 cars for
It's a different application.
yes. It's a different application, but it's the same. We had to apply for them in the same form. So we submitted these all.
But it's a different grant application.
It's goofy because we have to apply in phase 1 using the same form, and they're not going to award or consider them. What they're going to do is forward them into phase 2. But in order to get them considered, you had to put them in phase 1.
Okay.
I don't make the rules. I'm trying to get through this. So yeah. So we have in there, we've removed the equipment grant of $15,000, only for $60,000 for 2 non-revenue vehicles and $1.6 million for buses.
Commissioner Montero.
So I have a couple of questions. So you submit the grant by April 3rd. When do you know if you're getting the money for buses that we would want to purchase in FY28?
It's a process. I have a schedule.
Let me give you all the questions so you can see, because I'm looking at, okay, you have to know when you get that money. How long does it take to commit to a purchase of a bus? I know that takes several years. And how far in advance do you have to get the order in for the bus? How long does it take to receive the bus? And then my other question is, you just said you took out the equipment part of it. What about the supportive equipment that needs to go into the bus to support the operations of the bus, such as taking fares, having the communication with the with the transit center or, all that? Because that's another cost. Does that come into this cost as well?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So, actually, there's a number of questions there. So when do we know we get the money? When they give it to us, award it to us. Once we get an award, whether it's in this first cycle, second cycle, third cycle, they'll let us know. They'll let us know we didn't get it. So it's an open process that's going to roll over.
But what would be the deadline date in that first cycle to know yes or no?
It'd be pretty quick. They haven't given me the exact date, but
June.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we know in June. It's a 4-year. It's a 1-year grant for 4-year execution.
Got it.
So if we got the grant in June, we'd have 4 years to buy the buses.
Got it.
And
they give us the money after we buy the bus?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a reimbursement. The federal portion we would get in advance. The state portion is a reimbursement.
Got it.
At least that's how it usually works. So I would have to confirm that. The equipment. So what we did a little differently this time is when we did the specifications for the bus and we build the bus, you have an option to put in fare boxes, radios, actuators, all those equipment, and that's included in the build of the bus.
Okay.
So it's all in there, so we would get new fare boxes, new radios, new annunciators, all included in that bus. The build time on these buses, they'll tell you 3 or 4 months. It's probably 6 to 9 months to a year. All that's built into our scheduling. We have basically said our project starts today and ends at the end of the fiscal year in 2031.
And when we're talking bus, what size?
26-foot buses, the brand new ones we just got. So the idea, the plan is...
Those are not ride assist buses. They're but they're not microtransit.
You can use the idea behind, let me back up. So I have put together a fleet replacement schedule to take all the different buses we have and replace them with this model bus. This bus will be the same for paratransit and for fixed route. This bus has paratransit capability. By having a uniform fleet, all the buses we get over the next 4 to 8 years will be all the same. So the equipment's the same, tires are the same, the training is very similar. So what we're creating is a homogeneous fleet, as close as we can, because if we only get 2 buses a year, they're going to be a little different. But by putting this whole fleet together this way, you get away from having a coach and a minivan. We have one vehicle that's going to serve fixed route, paratransit, microtransit. It gives us the flexibility to put those vehicles where we need them most.
Any other questions from the board?
Did I answer all your questions? Because you had a few. I'm not sure I got them all.
I think you got close.
Okay.
Okay. So
As they are coming into newer technology with buses, are they able to increase the miles per gallon on buses?
It depends on the administration that's in at the time, because our current administration is rolling back a lot of those regulations.
Not a regulation, but
fuel economy standards.
Yeah.
So we're buying regular off-the-shelf vehicles. So whatever the government sets as the fuel economy standard, that's what we're buying. We're not going to have any input when we're buying 2 or 4 buses.
Got it.
We hope we get better buses. Then technically, every year they get better. So every year we get buses, they'll be better. I don't see you're not going to see a giant jump.
So, building on Commissioner Montero's questions, I have a couple questions. You said that you are speccing them, including those things, but there's a list that includes the different things, and there's certain things that jumped out to me as not included and not included on your others list, such as seatbelts, lifts,
all that
securement systems,
if you look at the
internal cameras, internal communications, what was some of the other things? I'm trying to find my notes. Those things I didn't see anywhere in the contracts that those were listed and spec'd and included anywhere. There was external cameras, but there's nothing about internal security cameras. There's nothing about the lift and the securement. bike racks, which we have previously agreed as a district to purchase fat tire bike racks going forward, which I have not seen us complying with. There's also some inconsistencies in this application. I just want to make sure that we're taking care of. In one application, it lists our financial reporting system as automated. The other one, it says it's a combination. One of them has our match source in there. I'm listed as the authorizer, which it shouldn't be. It should be the board is giving the executive director authority. The 53, which one is this one? The 53, one of them is listed as a vehicles. I'm just going through some of these because we are short on time. One of them is listed as a vehicles application. The other one is an equipment application when it's actually also for vehicles, so that needs to be fixed.
We were directed to do that by ODOT.
They classify them as equipment.
Okay, but later on in the application, it classifies them as, you speak of them as vehicles. So I just want to make sure that we're not getting ejected from the process because
we'll have a review of that with them.
Okay.
Before they get the file submitted.
Some of the questions that are answered as far as who this impacts and how it can be impacted, I felt like we could have answered as yeses or affirmatively and listed some things, which we didn't. I think that we need to make sure that any time we're assisting with facilitating better use of public transit, we are also creating multimodal connections. We are providing more service and more availability to a larger part of the public. The second grant application lists the impacted groups properly. The first one does not. So I just want to make sure that when we are submitting these applications, we have consistent information submitted across the board, across the two applications.
Well, if you could share that with us, we will be sure to incorporate all of that.
You have the two applications that you can compare side to side and do that. That is not my job. I do not have time to do that.
Okay.
I am sorry.
Well, you don't want to. Anyway. We'll do what we can to make sure they align. They are two different applications. One's for equipment, one's for buses. So I'll revisit that. The equipment, some of the vehicles, the base vehicle comes with equipment that's not listed separately, but I'll go ahead and verify what's in the base vehicle versus what we're adding to that and make sure we have all those other assets that you're asking for.
One other thing that I just remembered is that you said, and I thought was a great idea, is that you're looking to create a consistent fleet across the board. But when I was reading through the buses that you are looking to procure, one of them is diesel and 3 of them are gasoline. Is that correct?
That's what we're replacing.
That's what we're replacing.
I thought I saw that it was the other way around too. So I'm glad to hear that it's not. Yeah, so community benefits is a place that we want to focus on the fact that anytime all of these purchases are community benefits all the way across the board. Okay, that's my input. Anybody else? There needs to be a motion.
You have such a detailed eye and you know those things.
There needs to be a motion regarding 1 or 2 of these applications.
I move that we authorize the executive chair or director to continue and apply for these grants.
I second it.
And sign.
Yeah.
And sign.
Second it.
Okay, there was a motion made. Did you get it all, Sarah? Was that loud enough?
Move to authorize the executive director to continue and apply for the grants and sign the grants.
Yep. Both 5399 and 5339, just to be more specific. Is that correct? Motion and second?
Yes.
Point of order, I'm sorry, David, what are the names of the grants?
They're both called competitive discretionary phase 1 and competitive discretionary. Well, let's go with competitive discretionary phase 1.
Yeah, they're 5339 and
They're
5399.
when you The way the system is, these are going to be applied to whatever funds they have available. So because they're putting in under this thing, the first batch will go under 5339, but then there are other funds available that may be applied to these as we move forward with it.
Okay.
So they change, ODOT's changed the whole process, so this is going into this collective pool. If we don't get 5339, we might get 53 something else.
Okay.
We might get some state funding. There'll be other opportunities to get grants, so it's a competitive transit grant, competitive discretionary phase one.
Okay.
Did you get that, Sarah? Competitive transit phase 1. That's what I heard. Am I hearing right?
Competitive discretionary phase one.
Discretionary.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. Commissioner York is excused. So that's both grants. Proclamation regarding Ridership Appreciation Day. So in the past, Ridership Appreciation Day had been combined with Project Homeless Connect. In the past year, the board chose to separate the two out and have Rider Appreciation Day be celebrated on the same day as our anniversary. So celebrating our anniversary by creating a Rider Appreciation Day on that day. It was not really done officially long-standing, so the staff kept with that going up to this, but I thought it was appropriate for the board to actually, make a proclamation that we are celebrating our anniversary by proclaiming it Rider Appreciation Day on our anniversary annually going forward. That does not mean, in connection with Project Homeless Connect, we, the board, cannot approve to also have a fare-free day. It wouldn't be Rider Appreciation Day. It would just, we're just making it official. So that is why this is on the agenda, because it came up it was important that the board actually take affirmative action. Commissioner Montero.
First of all, this has already happened. It was on the 24th. And the only place I saw anything was on Facebook. And I don't recall, reading this is the first inkling I got that it had anything to do with our anniversary. I don't recall seeing that anywhere in any public forum. Also, I personally don't think it's appropriate that you write a proclamation to say that we do this from this year forward for umpteen years. What I think the appropriate way to handle this is that you have a board policy that talks about we will have a Rider Appreciation Day on March 24th of every year, and we will issue proclamations. Because when you issue proclamation, this body issuing a proclamation to itself is sort of, You want to be going to the county and saying, here's a proclamation, and you want to be reading it at the county commission meeting, and you want to be doing it in a timely fashion so that it happens before the day you're doing it. You want to be asking cities to do the proclamation as well. So I would rather see that we, the policy committee, as the chair, I can say we'd be more than happy to develop a policy that it talks about us celebrating our anniversary annually with a Rider Appreciation Day, and however else we want to put it in there. But and I think that I would like to see a more robust proclamation when we do this. Everybody is glad.
So I will just say that this is not in regards to what has happened in the past. This was a way to have us clean up and make things better going forward. And proclaiming our anniversary as Rider Appreciation Day from now going forward, I think, to me, was an appropriate way to do this. Could this be more robust? Could we ask the county and the cities to also proclaim it Rider Appreciation Day? Sure, but this is our anniversary and we're deciding to celebrate it in a way that we are making it a Fare-Free Writer Appreciation Day. And to me, this is a completely appropriate way to do that. If the board does not want to take action, then we don't. Then it's here on the agenda for us to consider, and we don't do anything. But there it is. So. Anybody want to take action or just we move on?
I think we move on.
Seeing no motions?
But we make sure we take action in a timely fashion next year.
Seeing no motion, item 12D, the April board meeting date. The normal April board meeting date, several of us have conflicts on that date, so I proposed April 30th, and it was brought to my attention, because I wasn't looking at my calendar when I proposed it, that we have a budget committee meeting set for that date as well. Does that time still work for everybody to move our next board meeting to April 30th in the morning with our budget committee meeting in the afternoon?
It's too much.
I think that's hilarious, but since you were the one that asked for them both on the same day to start out with.
No, I didn't. I'm the one who told you it was on the same day.
No, when we were first scheduling budget committee meetings, you wanted them on the same day as our
I think she did that
board
not
meetings.
realizing.
Anyway, just an aside.
I think there would have to be a break, and I already have another meeting that morning, but I could probably.
So, right now,
Don't you have to do this with the whole budget committee?
No, this is our board meeting.
Oh, you're talking about
We're talking our board
keeping
meeting.
the budget meeting.
The budget meeting is not changing. We're
Okay.
talking about moving our board meeting to April 30th at 9 a.m. Does that work for everybody? Aside from Pamela's the statement that it's too much.
It is.
We'll be glazed over.
Do we have other suggestions?
Yes.
What is it?
You can pick another day. Very simple. It's, you have 27th, 28th, and 29th that you could do. Because you're preparing for 2 meetings on the same day. You get your packets on the Friday, hopefully, and you want to be well prepared. And you also want to be conscious.
You can't, we're looking at April 27th. Well, 27th, I would have to be out by noon. 28th doesn't work for me at all.
We could have our April board meeting on May 1st.
On the 1st of May? How about April 30th? Duh.
Anybody?
May 1st, that's a Friday.
May 1st. Well, we've got our evaluation committee meeting.
Oh, and I have LOC in Bay City.
Okay.
That's the problem, why we landed on April 30th.
Well,
Friday,
that's your
I have 2 different commitments,
Okay.
so those are not good days, but if I have to.
Choose, no, for the time. And slog it out.
Slog it out on the 30th is Commissioner Teeple's input. Slog it out on the 30th is Commissioner Stolberg's input.
I'll slog it out.
Slog it out is Commissioner Montero. Commissioner Romero, also, we're sticking with the 30th. Okay, we will try and keep our agenda as tight as possible. Don't be throwing things at me at the last minute.
So
April
typically, I
30th,
would
9
not-
a.m.
Yes, typically, I would not ask for this, but since we're going to have meetings back to back, could we provide lunch for us?
Yes, we will have lunch. Great. Okay. Moving on to item 14, Executive Director Report.
Yeah, I have 42 slides that I want to. Okay.
Which one of them would you like to show us?
Just really quickly, fuel prices, we have to monitor them really closely. They're having a significant, they could potentially have a significant impact on our budget. So we are aware of that and we're monitoring closely. Bus maintenance is going to go up as our vehicles are getting older. But really the fuel price is what we have to watch because it's really going to have a significant impact. We had a staff appreciation, National Transit Appreciation Day, and I grilled burgers with the staff. It was great, great turnout, and it was really a good event. We've been taking a lot of training. The other thing is, you've heard this before, and I'm going to say it again, there's a driver shortage. We're continuing to have challenges in getting drivers, and we're continuing to work on it. One of the things we talked about just the other day was putting advertising on the buses saying, we're hiring.
That's good. No.
I got one yes and one no. Do I need to bring that?
I think I'm going to leave this meeting soon.
Go ahead.
Well, because what we want to do is put on the back of the bus, we're hiring and for drivers, and that's a billboard that drives around all the time.
Yeah, why
It's
not?
a pretty common thing.
Doesn't TriMet do it on the, whatchamacallit, in front?
Also, we've done that before as well.
We can do that, and we're working at a number of different ways. I want to put a sign out in front of the transit center so all those guys driving trucks see we're hiring drivers. And
But you're keeping the pretty part?
Yes.
Well,
The back has writing on it already.
Yeah. So we'll have to cover that while we do. During this shortage, it requires us to take a little bit of extra steps and a little bit of, we're just going to try that and see if it gets any traction.
How many drivers are we short?
We average 2 we've hired people and they've left and we're always at kind of -2, so we have overtime that's high. And then we have people that are calling out sick, going on vacation. We've had a number of people who have surgeries and stuff, so we're having impacts throughout that, and our supervisors are driving a lot more. So if we can get to even and then hire maybe 1 or 2 extra drivers, then we'll be able to not have overtime. We'll be able to have people take their vacations when they want to. A lot of things that will help us perform better and be a better workplace. We did meet with the city of Astoria, and we talked about some projects we wanted to do with them, and we're looking forward to being able to do some different passenger infrastructure upgrades.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Team report?
Team reports. Thank you.
From budget officer to commissioner.
Yes. Yeah, so you have my team report. I do thank you for your confidence in nominating, or however you want to state, and that means a lot to me, so I appreciate that. Happy to be here and do everything that the board needs in supporting our staff and moving us forward. Operations is a lot. To add to my team report, I did want to state that David and I have been working feverishly on this application for your guys' viewing today. So thank you for all your input. And we definitely will make all those corrections, knowing that we were going to need to make corrections for that. Is there any questions?
Thank you very much for all your hard work. Appreciate it.
Oh, and you get first priority on what you're going to be called. You're
Oh, well, thank
senior.
you. I appreciate that. I'll have to think about what I want to be called.
Your Highness.
Yes, I like that.
Mobility.
Yeah, I have just been doing mobility things. I'll just highlight the one thing. Last month was the job fair, and I didn't think I could speed talk as fast as I was that day, but we did come in contact to about 315 people. I gave away 315 bags. We talked about transit 315 times. So we had a great time, and I actually got 4 travel training requests, 2 actually done based off the job fair. So it was good.
Any possible applicants based off the job fair?
A lot of young people who do and don't want to be bus drivers. There's no gray area. That's it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Jason? Okay, thank you very much for your hard work, and that's a lot of talking to a lot of people, I know from experience. HR.
HR, hi, good afternoon everyone. Starting with the recruitment process for the finance officer, the position has been successfully, or we have identified the best candidate out of what we've got at least, and we completed the onboarding process. Keep in mind we had some strong and competitive candidates. I also spoke to AccuFund to sign her up for training right away, so we don't waste any time. So she's, start and get going with the system that we have, at least for now. Also, the development and workforce planning from HR perspective, I conducted 2 anonymous surveys, one about the benefits and one about the employee satisfaction. We have good feedbacks, and any negative feedback is something we will be working on with the direct managers. We don't know names, we don't have emails or phone numbers or anything connected to whoever left that feedback, but it's mostly just to improve the overall experience, let's say, for the employees.
Can you provide a synopsis kind of report, a high-level report to us on the kind of information you collected? What, analytical type of report. I don't need it. Yeah.
It was conducted by SurveyMonkey, and for the benefits, basically I asked for employees to compare previous benefits with previous jobs with the current one, and which what they think is better. Most of them say that our benefits are better.
Well, SurveyMonkey, I'm sure, you can do the analysis kind of thing.
Yeah.
If we can get a printout of that or something
absolutely.
like that, because it helps us to understand how the SETD employees feel about different things.
I will send it today. I have it ready.
Great, thank you.
Of course. I also have done a small payroll analysis. This needs more information. I can't give a final decision on this one because we have to compare it to special districts, just like our size of a district. So we still need more information on that. About the policies and workforce documentation, job descriptions have been updated, all of them, to reflect the current operational responsibilities. These updates are in final internal review prior to board submission. So expect something from us very soon. So you guys can give us the feedback and just tell us what do you think so we can make the updates as well. I also implemented a structured exit interview. The purpose behind it is to strengthen our documentation and turnover tracking. For whoever leaves the district, we just want to know why and if there's something we can work on to improve our process, for employee satisfaction. Lastly, the Victor training. Has everyone got the credentials and tried to log in? I reset everything.
I know you sent us out the thing. I haven't had a chance to go in.
Okay. Do you have one more minute?
Yeah.
Okay. For risk management, I also developed a cross-training framework, mostly to identify critical roles, just like what happened the last month, map key tasks inside each role, and create, or let's say choose a backup personnel. And the reason for that, just in case anyone leaves in a critical role, we just need to make sure that there's someone that can cover for that person, so we don't get within the same situation with all the finances and all of that. Workforce snapshot. I know Commissioner Alegria asked for that. We have 28 active employees as of now. We had more actually, but 2 employees have separated from the district, and one candidate went through the whole process, but he just did not show up. He decided not to show up, so bus driver. So that's for the most part. 50% of our workforce are bus drivers, and the rest is all of us. That's all I have. What questions do you have for me?
How are people finding out about our jobs? When you interview people, I'm sure you ask that question.
Yes, mostly online posting, which is on Indeed, is the main platform. We also have Facebook, and we are working on putting stickers and all of that on the buses. So.
And our own website.
Oh yeah.
I just have a request when you're doing the workforce distribution numbers. I appreciate the percentages, but I'd like the actual numbers as well. And we used to have demographics and diversity information, and that's missing off of here now too. I'd like to continue to see that
Could we
information.
do that legally?
Yes, absolutely.
The diversity
Yeah.
statistics
We've
now?
got this many women, we've got
No, I
this
know
many
what it
people
is.
of color, this, yeah.
So we're not gonna be
No, we're not.
penalized.
No, we're allowed to.
Can you please repeat it one last time? The demographics and what else?
The demographics, as far as diversity is concerned.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Sarah's report, yep.
I'll just be brief and highlight one thing. We needed to have the public meetings law grievance process on our website. We didn't, so it's on there now. On our landing page, you'll see buttons at the top, and it's the second button. The information is from Oregon Government Ethics Commission about how you file a grievance.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you.
I noticed that right off the bat when I went to the website. That was very clear.
Good. Thank you. There's also been, I've made a couple requests to Sarah over time to do some minor updates and information so that it is easier to follow, more accessible for people to read through, such as the commissioners and how they're listed on our commissioners page, and making sure that that information is accurate and up to date. And she's been right on top of it and gotten it taken care of.
Can I add one more thing that I forgot to say earlier? Sorry, this is real fast.
Yes.
In my position with the Union Health District, I've been talking to the Daily Astorian regarding the cost of posting our required postings for budget committee meetings, the cost on the classified side versus the cost on the display ad side. And it's less expensive to do it on display ad. So I wanted to bring that here as a point of information that I can work with Sarah if people want me to do the same thing for the district, because we could cut our costs and still fulfill our legal obligations.
So I would say that because we have staff here that can do that,
yes, I'll
we
just
could
pass
just
it on to
pass the
Sarah.
information on, so that when we have to make those postings, that there's an awareness that there is more than one way to accomplish our budget filing requirements.
I'm sorry, so, I mean, there's a list of meetings in the Daily, the Historian.
This is
But we're
for,
required to post our budget meetings, and you have to do it within a certain amount of time, etc. And most places do it in the classifieds, which is very expensive, as opposed to you can do it just like a plain old ad. It's called display advertising.
but, and then there's also the need for us to post the LD 30 or LD 31, whatever it is, in its entirety in the newspaper. And that's where if you put it in one place, you're taking up this much space in column space, and so if it's in classifieds, your bill is this high, and if you format it into a display ad instead, it's a different cost basis. So just to make sure that our staff is aware of that, and that both of them comply with our requirements, and for them to look into it.
So would that go any place that they want to put a display ad?
We
As
have to
opposed
determine-
to
We can kind of
Yeah.
tell them
Where?
where. But
legals or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yep.
Okay.
So anyway,
it doesn't have to be
that-
under legals.
yeah. Anything further? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. 1:06.